All right. All right. Everything's back up and going. All right. Welcome in. I appreciate everybody for joining. We have a great night planned. We have a open discussion, open conversation with the awesome Lisa Knows. And for y'all that don't know, me and Lisa have been having our difference of opinions a couple of times. Not too crazy about this Charlie Kirk investigation. She, in my opinion, is on the opposition side. I stand for the conspiracy side. She stands for, technically like the prosecution side, if you want to say that. So I felt like it would be a great idea. She agreed to come on and just have an open discussion about everything, hear her different perspectives and views, how she feels about the case. Same for me. It's not going to be your typical, debate, you're right, I'm wrong type of setting. I'm not really for that. It's more so just hearing difference of opinions, hearing different perspectives, hearing her out, where she comes from, why she feels that way. And I hope she could do the same for me. But it definitely will not be, this back and forth, rah rah, getting loud. I don't really do all that. So, but without further ado, so we can go ahead and get it going. Welcome to the stage, Lisa Knows.
Hello, hello.
How you doing, Lisa?
Good. It's been a crazy day, but good.
That's good. Well, I appreciate you. I know we have, we've been, I wouldn't necessarily say going back and forth, um, but it's been quite a few different, things going on that we definitely disagree on, that we have crossed paths a couple of times on TikTok, and we have
hmm
obviously, disagree with each other's opinions. So I felt like this would be a beautiful thing to just sit down and talk to you, figure out, where you stand, your different perspective on things, and kind of go from there.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean we've gone back and forth a little bit in videos, but I will always say that you are always very respectful in your responses, and I do appreciate that because other people will just go full like crazy, and I'm like, um, so I mean, because I've gone back and forth with a couple of people, but you've always handled it really well. So I will give props where props are due.
I appreciate it, and it's still gonna be the same tonight. I respect everything that you're doing. It's hard in general being a content creator. So we have a mutual agreement on that you are putting in work, being a content creator, doing your thing, and yeah, I'll for sure keep it respectful, and I will keep that going. But I definitely want to get into tonight, so that way I don't waste your time and anybody else's time. With this Charlie Kirk investigation. Obviously, you have your views on everything. So I would love to probably start off uh probably close to the beginning on when you kind of officially decided that, your side is your side and you're sticking to it, as far as Tyler Robinson did it. Before we get into the nitty-gritty stuff, I just want to hear your perspective on what made you come to the conclusion that Tyler Robinson did it. I don't know why nobody else sees it, and kind of go from there.
Um, so like when so I guess are you asking like when I thought that Candace was going in the wrong direction or
Sure,
because
sure. Like when
I
the
mean,
conspiracies. Go ahead.
yeah, because like that very first episode that she did, I was kind of like, you guys have like, okay, yeah, like they work together. Obviously, they have history with Turning Point and all of that. Clearly, she and is going to be upset about him passing. I mean, along with like everybody else, but she did actually like know him, right? And so I initially thought like you guys, like, okay, like let's kind of see if she's, what she's going to do with this type of thing. But I don't know. I feel like very quickly, it went in a different direction. Now, I was a Candace Owens fans back in the day. I have followed Turning Point for pretty much since they started. So they started in 2012. I would say I kind of started following Turning Point like 2014, 2015, around there. Um, I actually have a shirt in my closet that's like one of the first like merch shirts that they ever put out. Um, and so was following Charlie Kirk like back in the day before he was really much of anybody. And then, I mean, when him and Erica started dating, I remember when he came on uh, Alex's pop. I was a Poplitics fan. I remember when they came on the show and he announced that he was dating someone. And then as soon as we found out who she was, I started following her too, her clothing line, all of that stuff. So I know there's a lot of people that are like, oh, I was new to Charlie Kirk at that time, where I'm just now new to Erica. I actually haven't. I have been following both of them for years. But and same with Candace. I was a fan of her back in the day. I think where it really dropped off with Candace for me was when I felt like she started to get into a lot of this anti-Israel stuff. I believe that she is very anti-Semitic. I know that people disagree on that, but and so as soon as she started pulling that into the Charlie Kirk narrative, which I believe was like she did the episode of like kind of a tribute episode to him and their friendship and all of that, and I thought that was great. I was on board with that. And then literally by the next episode, she was introducing that Israel killed him. And I was like, I'm out. So it was pretty immediate for me.
Okay. And then do you feel like, your bias, I guess, towards Candace after she made her Israel comments before the Charlie Kirk situation? Do you feel like that kind of went into your thought process on not trusting her to begin with? And then you were kind of biased?
No, I already had disagreed with her on a lot of that prior, but I mean, I had picked up a little bit from like the Macron, even before that, the Kamala Harris and like investigation that she did. I watched bits and pieces of it. I wasn't like massively invested or anything, but I was like, okay, well, we disagree on this issue, but she still seems to be relatively conservative, right? And the elections were going on at that time. And so I would pop in and out from time to time. And then she went into the Macron stuff and I was like, okay, but then it kind of really started to go south there. And I was like, I'm just not tracking what she's doing anymore. Like, this is nonsensical. And there's a lot of things, like the way that she's like connecting and conjoining things is kind of concerning. And so, yeah, I mean, and I already disagreed with her with the Israel stuff at that point, but I was still kind of tracking along a little bit even there after that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. Now that we're kind of jumping into what happened with Charlie Kirk, did you not find it strange that, the prime minister of Israel came out and was like, Charlie loved us and we didn't do it? You didn't find that strange?
I mean, he only did that after Candace made her claims, though. So she kind of started that jumping off point, where I think he probably felt like he needed to respond because of the whole letter thing that she brought up, right? And eventually, we know within a couple of days, they did produce that letter to the public so that people could actually read it. And even the way that she presented what was in that letter, I don't believe that she presented it factually, because then once it came to the public, she made it look like it said a lot of things that it didn't actually end up saying. So.
Okay. And then my next question would be, everything that we know, I guess now with, Candace releasing the messages, the screenshot, I guess I would say, that shows, I wouldn't again necessarily say I'll give you something. I've heard her say before that Israel did it. Don't know if she was serious or in a joking manner, because she does say a lot of jokes about Israel. However, with the full context that we have with the screenshot, his Jewish donors, the Hamptons meeting, BB calling him, do you still not find all of that odd? I'm not also jumping to the conclusion saying that they did it, but do you not find that odd that they were very interested in controlling Charlie in a way? Or if that's what it looks like, in my opinion?
Yeah, I mean, that's where you and I are going to completely disagree. I think everybody that was at that Hamptons meeting, pretty much all of them at this point have come out. I would say it's well over 10 people. I believe that those who were there said that there was about 30 people there, 25, 30 people. And so at least half have all come out. And I think that they've been very consistent in what they said, that this was a meeting of the minds, that Charlie was the one that invited them. They did not call it. They did not call this meeting. The way that Candace presents it is like it was like an intervention almost, of like them calling him to the meeting to like sit him down and be like, you got a problem. Like when you're, like when you're like talking to an addict or something, right? And I think that all of them have been very clear of like, no, we got a text inviting us to this trip. And it was literally to sit down, and he knew that he had this tour coming up, and it was the biggest tour that he had ever done. So it was a big deal. And basically, he knew that people were going to have questions about Israel, but it wasn't just Israel. They had multiple talking points. It was things to do with the West, the structure of the family, marriage, I believe. Yeah, they've listed off a couple different things that they plan to talk about in that meeting. And basically, it was kind of to strategize and do debate strategy of like, okay, these are the types of questions that we're seeing on campuses. This is the type of stuff that is coming up all the time. How or what do you believe is the best way to approach it? And everybody who's been there says like there was a multitude of different opinions in that room. This is why there were rabbis and priests and Christians and non-Christians and Jews, and there were people from all different ranges of the spectrum on this issue, so that he could get a voice from everybody, basically.
Yeah, and I don't disagree that it could have gotten heated, because that's typically what happens in some tough conversations, are had. So I'm not even
Yeah,
gonna jump
that's
to the
just debate.
conclusion.
Yeah, debate can
Yeah,
definitely I'm the prime example of debate can definitely get heated. And I always tell people to remember, like, just because I'm passionate about something does not mean that I hate you or I'm angry with you. Don't mistake passion for anger, right? At the end of the day, I'm not angry with you. I just actually care and believe in what I'm saying. And at the end of the day, if you're debating someone, you want them to actually believe in what they're saying and care about what they're saying, right? So, yeah.
yeah, okay. And then last question before I jump back a little bit. Would you say, or I wouldn't even say would you say, I don't want to put any words in your mouth. How do you feel about the accusation that BB, that guy called Charlie around that time to take Turning Point to the next level? How do you feel about, what's your opinion on that?
Do we have proof of any of this? Because I don't believe that that's ever been presented. Again, outside of the letter that Charlie wrote to him, because Israel did have still kind of has like a PR problem, and I would agree with that. And that was Charlie's view on it, that they needed to like change their approach on how they were dealing with the war and all of that, right? And he was kind of strategizing with them on like the better way to approach that. But as far as like him supposedly calling him a few days before, I mean, have we actually seen evidence of that? Because I have not seen that, if that's the case.
Yeah, so I know what you're gonna say, just because I've listened to your content before. So I'm gonna present the evidence and allow you to have your opinion on it.
Mm-hmm.
Candace threw out the accusation that, he called Charlie and, said I would take Turning Point to the next level. Charlie declined. Andrew Covett confirmed that happened. And then also Erica confirmed that a phone call happened. And this is Andrew confirming to Candace and Erica confirming to Candace. So I can't give you an article or anything like that. But
Right.
Andrew confirmed to Candace that did happen, but doesn't know the dollar amount. And Erica confirmed that BB did call, but she doesn't know the context of what the phone call went or how the phone call went. So that's all I can really say on what we know, or at least what Candace is saying. She's been told by two people inside of Turning Point. So with that information, I guess what's your opinion on that? If that is, like I said, if we're going off that being true, since Erica and Andrew have not denied that conversation didn't happen.
Yeah, I mean, I would not take that as valid evidence. You're taking a trust me bro from her, and you're allowed to take that as trust. I don't have that rapport with Candace. I don't trust her content. I don't trust her all of these anonymous sources are just ridiculous. Like back in the day, you would rarely have an anonymous source from a journalist or a reporter of any kind, and now it's gotten so bad that like every other source is anonymous. And with Candace, every source is anonymous. She has never had someone like actually come on and talk to her face to face, or put their face on a screen, or even put their name on a screen, or put their email exchange on a screen, or their phone conversations, or any of these things. And so at the end of the day, no, I'm not going to take that as valid. I'm sorry.
So where do we go then if Candace is saying, Andrew told me this and Erica told me this? Erica and Andrew don't come out and deny that, but you're asking Candace to bring more proof that Erica and Andrew said that. Don't you feel like if somebody puts a name to an accusation, then that person, especially if it's a very serious accusation, don't you feel like that person should then come out and either, you know, approve or deny, say it did happen or it didn't happen? Why would you expect Candace to provide more context when she put a name to it?
Why do you expect them to deny, or like, they don't have to respond with anything? At the end of the day, they don't owe her anything. They don't owe any of us anything. And so, yeah, Candace can go and spew whatever she wants. And they have the ability to refute what they want and not refute what they don't want to. At the end of the day, they're not the ones on trial. And I feel like this is one of my biggest issues with your side of the equation, is that you guys are treating Turning Point and Erica like they are on trial here, and they are the ones being charged. They're not. And so, no, they don't have to defend anything to anybody. At the end of the day, that's not their job. They don't have to do that. So yeah, I mean, she can make whatever accusations she wants. And I also do believe that in that meeting, Erica probably laid things out for her. And I believe she said that if this continues, you know, lawyers will be called, lawsuits will happen, legal consequences will take place. And so after that meeting, any communication that Turning Point had with Candace up until that point, I believe it was cut off after that, because she went right back into her normal stuff, and they were like, all right, we're done. And any of their lawyers at that point would have absolutely addressed them to no longer have any communication with her and to cut everything off. And so in preparation for any type of legal action, I believe that that is what makes sense, that they would be completely done with her.
So why do they answer? I had a question coming up, but I'm asking you a question based off of what you just said first.
Mm-hmm.
Why do they respond to things that don't necessarily matter, but they choose not to respond to things that do matter, such as people on X bringing up crazy accusations, and they're quick to get on Charlie Kirk's show with Charlie Kirk not on the show and defend themselves or make it make sense or whatever, respond to it. But then when someone accuses them of something that's pretty big, because if true, then that can somewhat provide a motive. Not saying that they did it, but I feel like it should be a serious thing to kind of dig deeper on. Why would they stay silent on that, but then yet they're gonna come out and defend Erica's shopping spree or something like that? I'm not saying that that's what it was, but they tend to come out and, you know, respond to stupid stuff.
Mm-hmm. So I think that this comes down to the fact that they're dealing with a legal trial, and so they do have to be careful on what they touch on and what they don't. There's a lot of walking on eggshells right now, so to speak, right? There are certain people at Turning Point that were not under an initial gag order, but they now are with that case. And so anyone who is going to potentially be called to testify, which I'm sure that they've probably already been tapped on the shoulder to be like, hey, they're probably going, especially if they were there that day, if they were actually a visual witness to what happened, they're most likely going to have to testify, right? And so at that point, first of all, yeah, they need to be careful on how they address things with that trial, because they don't want to possibly mess things up with the trial. But also, they are under certain members of their team would be under a gag order under the court right now. So they may not even be able to address certain things, even though they want to. So it's not necessarily that they don't even want to, they just possibly can't.
Okay. And if they don't want to mess up the trial, I've heard that quite often. Then why would they allow, not that you would like know the official answer, I just want your perspective again on the argument, we don't want to mess up the trial. Why would they allow the crime scene to be paved over in less than 72 hours? I feel like
Well,
that's a
they
huge
didn't
harm
allow.
to the case.
Well, sorry, you froze there for a minute. What did you say?
Say again, you was breaking up a little bit.
Yeah, we're having a connection issue. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. I hear you now. I hear you now.
Okay.
All right.
All
So
right. Did it stable?
try
I
to say
think
it
it's
again.
stable. I think it's stabilized. Okay. Sorry. Technical error, guys. Anyway.
Yeah,
So
we good.
they didn't have the crime scene paved over. That was the university who made that decision, and that was after law enforcement had already released the crime scene. So they were already there doing everything, and then they would have released it. And once it was released, then that opens the school up to do whatever they want at that point.
Okay, and I probably could see that a little bit more if it was not a Sunday that they paved over the crime scene. Like if it was a work day, I probably could understand that a little bit better. But I'm just not understanding if Charlie was, if he fell down on, I believe it was like a Wednesday. I'm just trying to figure out with everything that's going on, right? It took them 33 hours to find Tyler Robinson, and then you're telling me that's a whole thing going on, and then somehow on a Sunday they're releasing the crime scene when they just found the alleged killer 30 plus hours ago. So how does that even make sense? Again, I'm not hoping that you are going to make it make sense. I just want to hear your perspective on how would it make sense that you just found the alleged killer 30 plus hours ago, a little over 30 hours ago, and then you pave over the crime scene on a Sunday, but yet
because
that
they were
doesn't affect the case.
because they were already processing the scene. So I'm not going to say that I'm like a forensic specialist by any stretch of the imagination. I do, however, have a background in 911 dispatch. I was a dispatcher for 5 years. Um and so I'm telling you that like scenes get processed. It doesn't take like days and days and days and weeks to process a scene. If in fact the longer that drags out, the more possibility for tampering and like other people to get into, especially when you're dealing with a scene that's outside and people are trying to, they have to rope that off. They have to have security at certain points so that no one can just walk through that scene, right?
So
And
what
so
about
once
what
that is
about Terrell?
secure, so I'm
Not
saying
not
he
to
got he
interrupt you,
got
I'm
killed
sorry,
on
but
Wednesday. If the scene was secure by Sunday, that's plenty of time to process that scene. They were processing it, so he was killed at 12:23, so that gave them the rest of that day. So the rest of that day into that evening, they would have been processing. Then you have Thursday, you have Friday, you have Saturday, and then they would have released the scene on Sunday. That is plenty of time for them to be processing that. Yeah, the other, like, it's not like all the cops are in one place at one time. They're going to divide and conquer, right? So you've got forensics there that is processing that space, that scene, and then you have other police officers and FBI and whoever else is out actually looking for the suspect, right? So again, it's not like everybody's just in one place and we can only do one thing at a time. They can walk and chew gum at the same time. You get what I'm saying?
I understand. So what about Terrell Farnsworth with him on camera messing up the crime scene before Charlie's even pronounced dead? He's on the crime scene messing with cameras.
He took out the SD cards, right? And immediately handed them over to law enforcement. And he
Right.
already
But
said
he picked
why.
up, but
He
I'm
said that
saying
it
he's picking up, he picked up, to me what was kind of weird, and this is just an opinion right here. He picks up Charlie's chair that he just died in. You know what I mean? I don't know what the blood situation looks like on the floor, but he picks up Charlie's chair and stands on it. That was just weird to me because I was like, I wouldn't personally want to touch anything, but yet alone pick up the chair and stand on it and grab the SD card. And then with the whole SD card situation, he takes the SD card to say that he wants to protect whatever or hand it to the FBI. But I know you don't believe anything Candace says, but he told Candace that he didn't want Erica to see the 4K footage and all of that stuff. And he was afraid that people were going to steal, but he didn't take the camera. He only took the SD card that I can go get from Walmart right now.
right, because the camera wasn't the concern. People getting a hold of that footage and just distributing it out into the public and selling it off like paps was what he was thinking, right? And so again, that crime scene hadn't been secured yet. We're talking literally what, minutes, like you said, minutes after the fact. And so, yes, his thought was, we need to grab this footage and get it into the hands of the police as soon as possible, so that it's not just sitting out here in the open for anybody to come up and take this while, like, before this scene can be secured, because it takes a little while. You know, you had people running every direction, people were screaming, it was absolute chaos, right? And so, you know, it takes a little bit for the cops to get in there, secure everything, lock everything down. That's not an immediate thing that happens. Hopefully it happened like quickly. Hopefully they didn't take too long to do that. I'd have to go look at, I mean, this is all stuff that will be like released in the trial, of like the breakdown of what that processing of the scene looked like and like what happened. That should all be documented in the chain of evidence. But yeah, I mean, I think his first thought was, you know, somebody is going to get a hold of this. We've already got the initial footage that went out to, you know, we all saw it. I know I did. It literally popped up on my phone whether I wanted to see it or not. And that was bad enough. And he was saying, like, I don't want someone to get a hold of this and just start putting it out for media hits, right? Because this is horrific. And also, yeah, we need to get this into the hands of the cops and get it secured. So I don't know. I don't see a problem with what he did. I think his response was, I don't know, normal in that case.
Okay.
As a camera guy, as someone who works in video, I think that his response, his brain was working in a way that it should.
Okay. All right. And then before I get to the next topic, I just want to break for a second and answer some questions that came up. The first one we have, I believe this one is for you. It is, can you please expand, or my fault, can you please ask her to expand on her views on Gaza and the current war? More than a sentence answer, please. It's a huge part of this. Thank you.
I mean, do you think that Israel and Gaza are still at war? Because they're not.
Yeah, but just like when everything was going on, what is your views on that? I'm assuming, do you feel like it was, you know, a genocide? Do you feel like it is?
No, it doesn't meet the definitional requirements of a genocide. So
Okay.
no.
So that's what they mean, though. Can you expand on your views on the Gaza Israel? Do you feel like it was justified? All of that.
Yeah, I believe that on October 7th, Israel was invaded by terrorists who, I think they ended the lives of, it was like 1,500 people, and captured more than that and injured more than that. And at the end of the day, yeah, Israel had the right to respond the way that they did. That would be like saying that the United States didn't have any grounds to respond after 9/11, when we absolutely did. 3,000 Americans were killed, right? And so, yeah, they had the right to respond the way that they did. Hamas has been an issue for a very long time, and they are just, you know, they're a blatant terrorist group. And Gaza is absolutely infiltrated with Hamas and terrorism. So at the end of the day, I don't see any issue with what Israel did. Now, I will agree that they didn't handle the PR around that conflict very well. They should have been better at combating a lot of the conspiracies and the lies and the propaganda from Hamas. And they weren't. And I think that was also Charlie's issue. He was like, hey, why are you not combating this terrorist propaganda better? Like, we need to get better about this. Like, you can't just be silent on everything. Like, you have to actually address it. So no, I don't believe it was a genocide.
Okay. My only question outside of that, and we'll probably hit on the current war more in this open discussion with Lisa, because I'm sure we'll hit on Joe Kent for a little bit. So we'll pause on that part of the question. My question to you, Lisa, is, did you see Bibi Netanyahu admit on camera that he funded Hamas $35 million a month?
No, I have not seen that.
So Tucker Carlson released a documentary on the Prime Minister of Israel, and I'm, you know, Tucker Carlson, I'm sure people have their opinions about him. However, this truly has nothing to do with Tucker, because it's Bibi on camera. He's being interrogated by some officers because he was under investigation for something, And he admits on camera that he funded Hamas. He funds Hamas $35 million a month to do what they do. And it kind of led into the conversation of he, you know, in my opinion, on how I interpreted it, because this is my part now, is that he essentially allowed Hamas to do what they do, or to do what they did on October 7th. And then Israel responded the way they responded. Now you can give me your opinion on what I just told you. The fact is, though, is that Bibi Netanyahu is on camera admitting to the police officers that he funds Hamas $35 million a month with American taxpaying dollars through Qatar. What's your opinion about that?
I mean, I can't have an opinion because I haven't seen it, so.
Okay. Well, yeah, it's just putting it out there. It's on Tucker Carlson. He released a full documentary on Bibi Netanyahu, and like, I forgot what it's called, but it's something about Israel. I just wanted to put that out there for you. That way you can go check it out tonight.
I mean, the whole world is funding Gaza. We have been for a long time. Because they have
Hamas in particular, though. That's the key for me.
Okay. Well, again, I mean, I'm going to have to look into this because I haven't seen it. But at the end of the day, the whole world has been funding Gaza because Hamas, who is their elected government, right, doesn't give a crap about them. They have no infrastructure at all. Instead of spending money on things like electricity and running water and schools and, roads and all of those things, they would rather build bombs and put it into, digging out tunnels and being literal terrorists. And so at the end of the day, yeah, we've all been feeding them and clothing them and giving them electricity and water and all of these things. I mean, at the beginning of the war, people were ticked off that Israel cut off their electricity and their water, which at the end of the day do you expect them to provide water and electricity to their own enemy, the people who want to wipe them off the map? No, I don't think that they should be expected to do that. So, I mean, Hamas just really, like, they weren't very smart. You're going to attack the country who is, helping you, who's literally providing you electricity and water, and let's go attack them and kill a bunch of Jews because we don't like them, and then turn around and cry when they cut off our water and electricity. Maybe don't attack you're literally biting the hand that feeds you. So that was dumb.
Okay, we got let's see. We'll do one more question and then we'll discuss a little bit more and then we'll get back to questions. Explain why Charlie was extremely upset on the Megyn Kelly show, and I will provide context for you, Lisa, if you have not seen it yet. Let me pull it up for you.
He was upset over how donors were treating him. Yeah, I've seen it.
Okay. So what's your opinion? Because he definitely was pretty pissed off about that. So what's your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, I think that this relates to the whole frustration that we saw in the text message exchange that was released, right? I think that he was feeling like it was a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation, right? So he was very clearly supporting Israel, but he didn't do everything exactly how they wanted, or he didn't have the speakers at certain things that they wanted, and so they were threatening to pull money. But at the end of the day, it's not like that's not something that Charlie would have been used to. When you're dealing with donor funds and sponsorships and like you're completely, reliant on fundraising, like to do what you do, like it's about trying to appease people and make people happy at the end of the day, or you just decide that you don't care and like you're not going to make them happy anyway, and like you cut the loss. But I don't think that this was anything that he wasn't used to. He was venting that frustration, and that's totally fine. People vent frustration. I think that his actions speak louder than what he was venting in a moment of frustration. But at the end of the day, that again, yeah, this is all like part of the nonprofit world that he lived in.
So, and yes, that does happen to nonprofits. Donors pull all the time. My biggest thing, though, which was a little bit concerning, was that he tried to say a million times that he is a supporter of Israel. He has been a pro-Israel guy for a very long time. And he was just expressing his emotions and his frustration with, him being, called being called an anti-Semite and being called all these different names out of the book, a traitor, all of the things that he mentioned that frustrated him. And he was just saying, how is he called all of these things, or how is he being called all these things just because he disagrees on a topic or two, which I feel like is valid.
Exactly. He was saying like I'm already like one of their biggest supporters, and what I'm doing is still not good enough for you, because again, at the end of the day, there's going to be people that are still not happy. You cannot make everybody happy. No matter what line of work you're in, all of us have experienced that point where we feel like we are doing everything that we possibly can, and there's still those people who want you to go another mile, and you're like, I literally can't go any further than I am. I'm already doing as much as I possibly can, and it's just nothing is ever going to be good enough for you. And so at the end of the day, I think that that's where he was coming from. I don't think that he was ready to give up on the entire thing and completely flip on the entire thing like the Candace side says. I don't agree with that at all. I think that he was just frustrated of like, this is a damned if I do, damned if I don't situation. No matter what I do, there's going to be people that are not happy, right?
Okay. Fair enough. I want to get back to our discussion on pretty much everything in general. I want to hit on, because obviously you were the driving force of what kind of blew up on the internet over these last 2 days or so.
Yeah.
And that is this entire flight itinerary situation. Now, what kind of bothered me in a way, and this truly has nothing to do with you, it's more so Andrew Kovac, because they always harp on not wanting to affect the case, the trial, whatever you want to call it. So that's their excuse of not coming out and defending, or at least denying these allegations and accusations that they have put on them. Oh, they're staying silent because they're in a legal bind. Okay, so why is he continuing to try to share information with other creators like yourself? And I don't know if he directly sent you that, but he's done it before with like Gary and stuff like that. So why is he doing that? And that alibi or whatever he's trying to establish typically ends up failing. And that's very concerning to me, because again, in my opinion, why are you lying? So I'm gonna let you take the driver's seat on this whole itinerary situation.
I wouldn't agree with you that it failed. I know that you're probably going to use a lot of Barron's talking points, and that's fine. We can go through them. I've refuted all of them, but well, there's a last little bit from what he put out yesterday that I still need to refute, but I'm working on something behind the scenes that isn't quite finished yet. But anyway, like, at the end of the day, I think that if you look through the history of this, whenever Andrew has tried to come out and address something directly, a lot of times it just makes things worse. And with your side of the aisle, you always are constantly saying that you want him to do this. But again, it goes back to what I said with Charlie. It's a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. And there's people who are just never going to be satisfied. They're never going to be happy. And it's always more. That's not enough. That's not enough. That's not enough. And eventually you have to draw a line and a boundary and be like, enough is enough. Like, I can't just keep feeding the beast, so to speak. And so, yeah, I think that he has felt like, it's better to go through other content creators and not necessarily have himself directly in the mix, because anytime that he's done that, it has just caused more chaos.
So could you give me one example, to not go far off script, before the flight itinerary situation? Because I definitely want to hit on that. Could you give me an example of when he came out himself and tried to debunk something, and then it turned for the worse because the conspiracies took it and ran with it?
So for example, you mentioned the messages that were released that we now know that Joe Kent was involved in, even though he denies giving them to Candace, but I think that that's pretty clear that that's what happened. But either way, in the very beginning, he didn't say who he gave it to in the government, but he did come out and say that, yes, the messages were real, right? And he did corroborate what Candace had said, that he did feel that those needed to go to the government, because he was like, I need to get it to whoever in the government to like make sure that everything is being looked at. Because that was very, very early in the case. That was I believe that she did that episode on October 6th, October 7th, around there. So about a month, not even quite fully a month after Charlie had, died. So yeah, I mean, that was one of those situations where he came out and said, like, these are real. I did give this to someone in the government to investigate. And he expanded on why he did that and what his reasoning was behind it and blah, blah, blah. And yeah, it absolutely imploded. And I think he felt like it backfired on him. And so he was like, going forward, I'm going to be much more careful about how I address these things, because anytime I try to like put my voice in the mix, it just seems to cause more problems than help. So
who, in your opinion, who told Andrew to send it to the director of counterterrorism? Or maybe he didn't send it directly to Joe Kent. I know Andrew said that, but he also said that he sent it to Joe Kent and his team. So Joe Kent could have sent it to, he could have shared it amongst his team. Somebody on his team could have exposed it. Who knows? I know that, you probably believe that Joe Kent sent it to him, but that's besides the point. Why would Andrew Kovach send it to the director of counterterrorism or the counterterrorism department rather than the FBI, the Utah State Police? Why them?
Because I believe he answered that. He said because Charlie had a relationship with him and he trusted him. And so, you would send something to somebody that you actually have a contact with and can actually get that information to them. And it doesn't mean that he ever meant for it to necessarily stay with Joe Kent or his department. He probably sent it and said, like, hey, can you look at this? But also, can you get it to whoever else you think that is actually able to address this or actually like look at it? Because no, Joe Kent, like, this was not in his job description, right? This was outside of his job description. And so at the end of the day, it was probably a discussion more so. This is obviously just my speculation. I don't know. I'm just kind of using common sense here to be like, hey, you're the person that I know. I actually like have a relationship with you. We've talked before, like we know each other. So this may not be in your wheelhouse. This maybe is not your arena, but can you get it to the people whose arena it is so that they can look at it? Right?
Do you feel like, excuse me, do you feel like this is Andrew saying that I had a feeling that this message that I'm seeing, this screenshot, this conversation kind of insinuates that Charlie's life was in jeopardy? Like, I'm trying to
I
figure
think he
out
was
what.
saying that like this frustration, like we had some donors that pulled out like just a few days before, and there was like a back and forth there that maybe happened that we don't know about. We don't know what happened behind the scenes. And so there was some frustration, and so maybe like on a random at that point, like, when he sent that, they hadn't even caught the shooter yet. They were still searching for somebody. They thought that this person was still out there. And so, at that point, anything is open. And he's like, somebody could have just been angry and decided to like, they just totally flipped a switch. We don't know. Now, I mean, obviously we now know that I don't believe that I think it ended up being a nothing burger, but at that time, he only had the information that he had to go off of. The shooter was still out there at large. They knew that maybe they had just gotten into a tiff with someone a couple days before, and they're like, hey, maybe this person totally snapped out. We don't know. Like, at that point, you're just thinking about who would want to end Charlie's life. Who are possible
And
people that are close to this equation who would want to end his life? And if somebody had just been angry with him and pulled their support for Turning Point a few days later, yeah, that may be something to look into.
but that's the thing though. I agree. I'm just trying to figure out, how does Andrew at one point in time feel like, okay, we can't find the guy, let me send this information over because something could come out of this. So clearly Andrew has some type of discernment that this chat is very revealing, to send it over to somebody to trust them. And then let's just say they caught Tyler Robinson. That's fine, right? They caught him. Why is Andrew so pressed on retracting the screenshot and being like, don't worry about what I sent? It has nothing to do with them. Leave it alone. I'm so upset that it got leaked and exposed. Why would he feel that way when he was the one that sent it over to begin with? Andrew Kovach is the original leaker. If he didn't screenshot that, none of this would have ever happened. So clearly in that very moment, Andrew
Right, but
had some type of feeling.
he also did not want to give it to the public. He thought that it was going to stay behind closed doors with investigators, which are the authorities who should have had it. And you know, he says that Joe Kent pressured him not once but twice to release it to the public, and he declined. And apparently, it looks like that Joe Kent took it upon himself to make sure that it got out to the public, regardless of what Andrew had requested or wanted.
Now
And
I
at
have to ask you.
the end of the day, you guys, your side looks at those messages and you go, Israel did this. This is
I
their
don't though.
reasoning
I
for
don't
doing it.
though.
I look
I
at that
don't.
and I say, okay, he had just gotten in an exchange with this donor that pulled support. We don't even know who this donor was. There was some kind of an exchange, like a heated exchange that happened. Yeah, in the moment with everything that was happening, he thought, hey, maybe this person like completely lost their mind and decided to take action against him because because of what had happened a couple days prior. So, like, again, I think we look at that interaction and we see very different things, and
Yeah,
that's
but
okay.
and I'm gonna tell you though where I stand though, so that way you can at least know me moving forward. That message to me does not scream Israel did it. So whoever feels that way, that's how they feel, but that's not how I feel. Like when I see that message, it tells me that this is information that we would have never known about Charlie, which is that he truly was leaving the pro-Israel cause. I'm not saying anybody on that text chain has something to do with it. To me, that text chain doesn't scream, oh, these people are arguing with Charlie, so they should probably hide their face because they said this to Charlie, that to Charlie. The screenshot wasn't even nothing crazy, but to me, seeing it's almost like context. It's all building up. He was already talking about how Jewish donors were stressing him out. Then the screenshot comes out where he's telling multiple people in the group chat, this leaves me no choice but to lead the pro-Israel cause. Then people come out after he dies. Well, first off, the text message to Andrew Covett and Dan Flood saying he feels like they are going to kill him. Then the
I don't think that that's been
pro-Israel,
corroborated, but okay.
the pro-Israel and Zionist people come out after he died and say Charlie, when Candace first threw it out there that Charlie was changing his perspective, they all came out and denied it. But yet some of these people were on the same text thread. So I'm not saying they directly did something, but I think that it does, further prove that there needs to be some type of investigation, because why would you come out and deny what Charlie was actually doing, which is changing his perspective and views, and you're on the same text thread where he sent it out to you, but yet you're on social media saying he never said that. If it's truly Tyler Robinson and it's the one and lone wolf, you have no reason to lie. That's where I stand. I'm not saying they did it. I'm just saying you have no reason to lie if Tyler Robinson is the lone wolf, if that makes sense.
Have you ever considered that there's more to those messages?
Yeah, I'm sure it's a whole thing.
We're seeing a tiny snippet, right? And so
Right.
here's my thought process. There's more in there. And whatever Andrew was actually concerned about, I don't think that we've actually seen. I think that what was actually like the concerning thing that he sent to Joe Kent, or whoever it was that he was trying to get it to in the government, I don't think that we've actually seen what the so-called supposedly like concerning thing was. Everybody immediately focuses on the Israel thing because at the end of the day, whether you want to admit it or not, all of the people on your side seem to have one thing in common, and that is a hatred for Jews in Israel. They just do. And so
That's not true,
as
though.
soon as they can focus on that and latch onto it, they do. And so, yeah, I think that conveniently, that's the one portion that came out, was the part where Jewish donors were being discussed and them pulling support. But I think that there may have been something that was actually a more concerning thing in those messages, which is why he sent it. Because, yeah, I don't see him sending it over like that small of an issue. That doesn't really seem like that big of an issue. But I think that they highly, especially Candace herself, focused in and dialed in on this one small portion of it because it fits her narrative. And so at the end of the day, she was already running with the Israel did it thing. And then here comes this screenshot that says, well, maybe I should just leave the pro-Israel cause because he was mad and he was saying things out of frustration. And we all say things that we don't mean when we're mad. But regardless, it fit our narrative. So you know what? Bing, bing, bing. Here we go. So yeah, I think that the reason that those messages were sent were probably something completely and totally different that we've never even seen.
So do you think people like me exist? And I'm gonna say describe myself. I don't hate Jews. I don't hate Israel. I think I disagree with a lot of things they do. Doesn't mean that they don't have the right to exist and all of these talking points people say. I think that they should not have as much influence as they do in our government. And they should be able to kind of be their own entity and control their own thing over there. We should not be funding everything that they do.
I mean,
But
they
again,
are separating from us. You know that, right?
I hope so in the near future. I believe it when I see it, because as this, I'm sure the
Yeah,
whole war thing will
they're
get through it.
building
But
they're building their own ammunition so that they're not reliant on us for ammunition and weaponry anymore. This was
yes,
released last year.
okay, this, again, when we get to this war, it doesn't seem like it with the war. But again, the point I'm making is that I don't hate Jews. I don't hate Israel. I
I
don't
mean, you
really
say that,
care
but you support a woman who literally laughs and mocks the Holocaust and says that it didn't happen. She's literally
so
a
do you
Holocaust denier. And yet you say, I don't hate Jews, but I'm literally supporting and like encouraging massively, hanging on every word of a woman who is a Holocaust denier, who pushes out literal Nazi mustache man propaganda. So,
do you think you can support somebody but disagree with certain things they talk about?
not that. No.
Okay,
That
I
would
mean
be
that's
like,
your opinion. That
would you ask me that if they were talking bad about people the skin color that you are? You're an African
well,
American man. If I was
what's the
supporting
example?
someone who was just like, "Oh yeah, the slave trade never happened. It's all a hoax. These people weren't put on boats and dragged across the ocean. That's all BS. That never happened. They're just having a victim mentality." And I touted all of that BS that we know is not true. Or if I decided to bring up all the stuff that the old slave owners in their argumentation against abolition. I mean, we could do that. I could do that. I could support someone on the internet who's doing that, but would you be like, oh, you can watch them and not support that piece of what they do? No, it's racism, it's wrong, and it's disgusting. And you have Candace Owens on camera calling Jews filth. She says that they are, quote, the filth that we have to deal with here in America. She said that like 5 episodes back. So, no, I don't believe that you can sit there and support someone who is openly supporting racism. That's not okay.
Well, I understand where you're coming from. I'm gonna tell you this though. I don't know her in real life, so I don't really connect myself with these people that truly don't mean anything to me, like in my personal life. So I can't sit here and defend everything, because we had a video about this before of you saying, you're defending Candace this, Candace that. And I'm like, I don't know the woman. So I'm not going to sit here and defend her down. If she says something crazy, not my mama, not my sister. That's on her. She holds her own weight. However, when it comes to, again, that's what I was talking about. I can disagree with certain topics about somebody, but I can still say, okay, on this topic, you speaking facts. Now, I'm not speaking on everything that Candace is saying. I'm saying in general, this is something that, I know you disagree, but it's the same thing that was going on with Trump and Joe Kent. Everybody said Joe Kent was a traitor, and he doesn't really support Trump. I know you agree. He doesn't support Trump. He's not MAGA, blah, blah. And then Joe Kent's on camera saying Trump can get the job done. Trump this, Trump that, nothing but praise. He just disagrees on the war, but somehow everybody says he's not a Trump supporter. So that's my take on that. But I'm going to tell you, at least so you can know me moving forward, I promise you, I don't hate Jews. I don't hate Israel. I have never in my life had an opinion about that. Even with the Palestine, Gaza, or Palestine, Israel thing going on, again, never had I was just like, it's some crazy stuff going on. But again, it's nothing to build up hate for anybody. I don't hate anybody. Now I want to get to the itinerary. I know we just chopping it up, open discussion, and I
Well,
do
hold
appreciate
on.
you
Can I
for it.
ask you a question though?
Go ahead. That's fine.
Prompting back to that really quickly. You also you tout yourself as a Christian, right? Like a lot of your
Yeah.
content is about being a Christian and a follower of Christ. And
Yeah.
so it's not even just the racism that she has towards Jews. You have literally everything that she's doing to Erica Kirk and Turning Point, trying to destroy people based off of literally the most baseless accusation. She has nothing to support what she's doing to them. And the Bible is very clear on how we are to treat widows and fatherless children. And that it literally says that the Lord hears their cries, and that if you are actively going against them, he will not hear yours. And so at the end of the day, like I as a Christian, I don't understand. No, I don't understand how you like Candace breeds nothing but hate. I don't know anybody that walks away from her show being like, wow, that was edifying. That it was encouraging. She like really pointed me to the Bible, to God. Like this is a woman who claims to also be a Christian, right? If she wasn't, then that would be a totally, of course I wouldn't expect her to do that. But she's claiming to be on that in that same camp. So if this is a woman who is professing that, at the end of the day, this is all entertainment. You do realize that people seek this out. They are literally addicted to this. This is like their weekly telenovela. This is, they have to get their fix. Like that is literally how your side of the aisle has started to act. Like you guys freak out if she goes on a break because, oh my God, what am I going to do without my Candace? Oh my God. Like it's literally like crack to you guys. Like it is about entertainment. It is drama. And at that point, you start pushing out. You don't even hear the truth because you don't want the truth to come out, because then your drama stops. Your weekly telenovela stops. And if that stops, I don't get my weekly fix anymore. So like we can't actually have, any truth come out. We gotta block it. We gotta keep this narrative going because we need our fix. Like, do you understand like how problematic that is?
I can understand if you explaining it that way how it could be, and I can't speak for everybody. Um, However, let me go back a little bit with the faith aspect. I have, I would say, great discernment. Don't really let anybody manipulate me, nor try to use Christianity as some type of weapon to make me feel bad about something that they are wrongly doing. So, I would say, and I'm not calling you this or any this is in general. I would say people are typically amateur or, new to their faith when they allow somebody to say you're a Christian, you shouldn't be doing that because of this, because of that. And it's like, no, I'm not easily moved by that. I'm a grown person. I have discernment.
You
And
don't
if
believe
I
in
see
biblical
somebody,
accountability or discipleship or mentorship or any of those things that are talked about in scripture?
I believe that anybody can manipulate anybody, and you're not going to sit here and tell me that just because you're a Christian, I shouldn't believe that manipulation is not real. Sin is real. Manipulation is real.
Yeah,
People kill people.
manipulation
That's
is
real.
definitely real. How often are you in your word?
All the time. I would say every day, but all the time.
A couple times a week?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And like I said, if it's not anything new to this earth, when I'm not accusing Erica of it, but when people lie on other people to, I don't know, get away with something, and then use Christianity as a weapon. Like our I'm not gonna say our entire country, kind of off topic, but like Christopher Columbus was one of the first people to weaponize Christianity and take over America. Imagine, like, that's literally what happened to the indigenous people. They believed everything Christopher Columbus said, and they were enslaved, and they used Christianity as a weapon. It's real. People do that. So you have to, as a Christian, understand when
We're gonna
somebody doesn't
disagree on that, but okay.
but when somebody doesn't truly like display their fruits when they walk around, you can't be mad at me when I call that out and say I'm not a Christian for realizing that. So while we speaking
I mean,
on,
I would say that Erica Kirk has way more fruit that's being produced than Candace is at all. Again, I have never walked away from a Candace Owens episode feeling any encouragement, grace, edification, any of those things. Feeling like I've learned something about my faith. Not at all. Not even a little bit. I have never, ever
So
seen her even give the gospel. She's never even used her platform once to give the gospel. Never. Erica Kirk is giving the gospel every second of every day that she can.
I'm gonna tell you one thing though, and I'm not speaking on Erica or Candace. Some of the craziest people I know has a Bible verse in a bio on Instagram and TikTok
Well,
or whatever.
of
That
course.
don't mean nothing to me. You can tweet Bible
Yeah.
scriptures
That. Why
all
do you think
day,
I said fruit? You will know them by their fruit. You will
but
see
I'm saying
what
you
they
just
are
said
producing.
Candace. But I'm saying you just said Candace doesn't preach the gospel on her platform. I don't care about none of
Yeah,
that. I don't,
he
if you're
should be.
not that,
If you are
so
a serious Christian and you have access to millions of people a week and you truly believe that these individuals without Christ will go to hell for eternity, and you truly believe that that is the case, and yes, you absolutely should be doing what you can to reach people with the gospel. She is in a position to do so more than any of like you or I. And you and I are trying to do that even just on our tiny little platforms that we have, let alone a platform like that. I'm not saying that she would need to do it every single day, of course not. But just to at least see her do that, maybe like once or twice, like maybe once a month, even that would be fantastic. But it's not going to happen. So
okay. So there are a couple of things. So let's get to some of these things because I know we on an hour right now and I don't want to take up anybody's night all night. Um while we are relative to the topic, because we have to get to the flight itinerary, but while we are on Erica,
mhm.
do you feel like she has lied at all since all of this shenanigans has started?
Erica.
Do you feel like do you feel like she has lied at all?
No, I think that she possibly could have been mistaken about something because human beings are human beings and they're not perfect. They're not robots, especially given, her life literally being upended in the worst way possible. Her mom is literally in the process of dying right now. She's kind of got a lot going on. So, given all of that, yeah, I think that she has had some misspeakings here or there when she's trying to, like, she doesn't reiterate everything back perfectly. She's not a robot. But as far as like blatantly outright lying and knowing that she's lying, no.
And so it's tough because like um I would kind of see that as a manipulation tactic is if every time you lie it's just categorized as a you just misspoke because
I don't
for
even think that
example
there's very many misspeakings. I would say that I
I
can
could bring
probably
some up.
think of like two off the top of my head.
I could bring
Um,
some up for you. I could bring some up
but
for
as
you.
far
So
as like again, I would take those as like a misspeak, a misstep. It's not intentional. It's not nefarious. As far as like the stuff that's going around online that she supposedly lied about, no. I think that that is all a contraption of the circus that is the internet that was fabricated and created.
I can bring some up for you. So for example, Candace first brings up, and it's I'm only bringing up the things that Erica has acknowledged. I'm not bringing up any speculations.
Hmm.
Candace brought up, Charlie texting people the night before, and Erica came out. This is when she went on her PR tour, and she went on a podcast with I forgot Glenn Beck, I think
PR
his
tour?
name
You
is.
mean the book tour?
I mean, it wasn't just the book tour. There have been like the CBS interview had nothing to do with a book tour, so that's what I mean. Just the PR tour in general, where she was showing her face a lot, but that doesn't even matter. She went on an interview with Glenn Beck, and she said Charlie never sent any messages out to anybody saying his life was in danger. I have his phone. Then Candace is the one
Hmm.
that released the names and said, okay, if you're calling me a liar, then Andrew Covett and Dan Flood is who got those texts the night before. Erica then comes out and acknowledges that Candace was right. She just didn't see it. And I'm assuming you're going to say she just misspoke.
No, where is she acknowledging that Candace was right?
What do you mean?
Where do we have the acknowledgement that Candace was right from Erica Kirk?
Let me see. I'm thinking off the top of my mind
Is this
because it's
just
been a
again
while.
something that Candace told us happened? Because I don't think that we have anything official, like a statement from Erica that says, like, I misspoke. I believe the issue there was that she said that there weren't any text messages, iMessages that were going back and forth, and then it got turned into
No,
that
that's
it
not
was
what she
like
said though.
that it was a Telegram thread, right? That she
Yeah,
apparently didn't know about because she hadn't seen that. Which again,
right.
that's not a blatant lie. That could easily just be a misstep, because it's possible that she actually didn't see a Telegram thread. She was saying that there weren't any iMessages or text messages stating those things, and Charlie literally talked about like the threats to his life. The problem
I
is
just
that people
wait,
keep getting the
real quick.
timelines messed up, which is the problem about something that he talked about a month prior or however many weeks prior, talking about like these crazy lefties that are coming to my events, swarming me and, you know, causing problems. One of them eventually is going to, you know, end my life. That is totally different than the day before he dies. I'm going to die. Someone's going to take me out. Like that is not in the same context at all. And you know it.
Well, again, the context is that he sent text messages out, whatever you want to say, the night before, 2 days before. The point that I am making though is that, you know, I know you're gonna say Candace hasn't proven it or approved it, but she came out and said that the text message was iMessage. So
Again,
that's the part where I'm like,
I don't, again, unless we can find an official, like her saying that on camera, there's footage of that, or there is an actual written statement somewhere. I don't believe that Erica has ever addressed that.
okay, so let's talk about some things then that are obvious, because I can see where this is
I do
going. If
believe she has her
Erica,
phone though. I do believe she has his phone though, which a lot of people got really upset about that, but that is normal protocol.
and look, this is the part where I'm trying to tell you I'm a normal person, because that was one of the first things that when people were upset about her still having his phone, I was like, the FBI could have already taken whatever copies they need to. I wouldn't consider that crazy. And I said that already. So now one thing that I want to address is that I can understand the, you know, the route you're taking as far as if Candace accuses Erica of something, but Erica is not on paper or on camera admitting she was wrong, you don't believe it because you feel like Candace is a liar. And that's your opinion. That's cool. Let's talk about,
I mean, again, you have to take it as an anonymous source because it is an anonymous source. And so, I mean, yeah, there's people who are going to trust that and there's people who are not.
okay, so let's talk about something that is
Sorry,
out
I
there
got
for
to plug my
everybody to
computer
see.
and it's dying.
You good?
Okay, go ahead.
Let's talk about something that's out there for everybody to see then, that, you know, we'll see how this goes. When the whole Fort Huachuca thing went down, I'm specifically talking about the picture that Erica sent Andrew COVID that then sent Gary. I know you're cool with all of them, but I'm specifically talking about the picture. You have kids, and you and I both know, because I do not want to hear it from you, Lisa, that boy is not 18 months at that time. And that
No, and I
picture,
don't think anybody was saying that that was her child.
yes, it was. It was in the screenshot. She said, I'm taking my kids for a walk or to the doctor. It's in the screenshot. It's in the
Again,
messages.
what is the backstory? Again, we don't even know. Like,
I'll tell you the backstory.
everything
It's
is
fine.
from Candace of like, oh, Andrew sent this to
No,
me.
I'll tell you the backstory.
Yeah, where's the
The
chain
whole
of custody here?
I'm gonna tell you. The whole Fort Huachuca thing was going on. Everybody needed an alibi from Erica because, you know, the whole Mitch Snow situation. Andrew is texting Gary. He was just on a podcast with Gary the other night. Andrew texted Gary Erica's alibi, and Gary is showing the text messages on his platform. So shout out to Gary. He's the one that did it. He has the text messages on the screen. We're reading it together. And he says, this is from Andrew COVID. And he says, Erica was not at some fort. And then he says, here's a picture. She was going for a walk with her kids or to a doctor's appointment with her kids. It's in the messages. It's from Andrew COVID. And then at the bottom of that, it says, don't show this. And then Gary says, oh, snap, I guess I wasn't supposed to show this. Sorry, Andrew. And the picture of the kids was not her son. I can't speak on
Because
her
I
daughter,
believe she
but it
said that
wasn't
she
her
was
son.
with friends, that they had friends at their house, and I believe that that
She
was the
didn't say all
friend's
that.
Child.
But she didn't say all that.
It
Where are
was
you
mentioned
getting
that
that
they were
from?
with friends.
Where are you getting that from?
From that conversation, like it was mentioned that they were with friends, Well, are we talking about September 8th or 9th? What day are we talking about here?
The
Because
picture
there's
she
been
sent over, the picture
a
she sent
million
over
things.
of the two
Supposedly she went
kids.
to Fort Huachuca September 9th, right?
September 8th is the day that Mitch Snow says that he saw her in a hotel lobby. So Erica sent that picture over for a September 9th. That was this timestamp on the picture. And she said, I'm with my kids going for a walk or at the doctor's or something like that. She said, my kids. So that's when even I made a video about it. And I was like, I have a son. That's
Yeah,
not an
no,
18-month-old.
that's not her child. I would say that there's another child in her home. Again, they could have had friends over, they could have been with friends. Like who cares? Like
But
but
I'm
the
using,
girl in that photo is most definitely Gigi.
it could be. All I'm saying is the boy,
Yeah,
because I know.
that would be the correct age, that would be the correct hair color, that's the correct size. It looks like Gigi. Obviously the face is covered, but we always see Gigi with her face covered on the internet. So based off the other images of Gigi with her face covered, that very much looks like Gigi. The boy, we don't know who, but no, that's not her son. Obviously, it's
The
the wrong age range, but that could have been somebody else's child. That doesn't
but
mean
the
anything. He's
but the
showing a
point
picture of
I'm
Gigi.
But the point I'm making is how every single detail matters. And you're taking Erica's word for it that
Not
she
every
must have
detail
been with
matters. You guys get hung up on the dumbest things.
her, covering a picture of the boy and girl saying, I'm with my kids, but one of the boys is not. She's taking a picture of a random boy and sending it to
Gigi
Andrew
is
Coleman.
her child. There was a photo that was taken of the kids together, like they're posing together in that photo, and they're covering both children's faces because she does that. Again, she does that even in her personal life. She doesn't show her children's faces. And so, like, yeah, she was saying, like, yeah, we had to get together at our house. Here, you can see I was with my kid, and my kid is posing with somebody else's kid. Like,
But that's what I'm saying.
again,
She didn't say all that though,
there's a
Lisa.
million avenues that this could be, but rather than give grace or charity of any kind, you guys immediately go to the worst case scenario, and that is the problem.
Because I'm going off of what I have. Because she didn't say all those things that you're saying, Lisa. If she did, it'd be a totally different
We don't
situation. You
know
just
all of the backstory. You didn't see the entire thread. You didn't see everything that was going on.
The
She's simply
text
saying,
literally
I
said
was with
my
my
kids.
kids, and there's a picture of her child in that photo. Again, the girl absolutely matches the description of Gigi. Now, if neither of those children could possibly be hers, then I would have the same question of you of like, wait a minute. These children are both way too old and are not the proper age range for her children. But the fact that that child absolutely could be Gigi, like that, there's the conversation. Like she was posing with this other child that they know. Like, who cares? Again, how is this any proof that she killed her husband?
I mean, again, me personally, I'm not saying she did it. What I'm saying is,
You're
why
heavily
are you?
alluding to.
No. I don't think Erica came up with the entire plot and said, I cannot wait until he. I'm not saying that at all. I think it's odd that if you
So what
are.
are you saying?
What I'm saying is, if Tyler Robinson is the lone wolf, nobody else should be lying. Nobody else should be not making sense. That's what I'm saying. If you don't believe it's a lie, we can agree to disagree there. Nobody should not be making sense. Erica, Kirk, if somebody's like, hey, can you provide an alibi? And she chooses to do so through Andrew Covet, and it says, these are my kids, and then the boy is not her son, and then people like you are coming out saying that's because
No,
she was at a
she
birthday
just makes a
party.
statement. She
You
didn't
can't
say
do that.
these are my kids. She said I was with my kids, and you can tell that Gigi's in that photo. Like
Yes,
that's how
but
normal
she
people talk. I would say, yeah, I was with my kids. Here, I just so happened that my daughter actually posed with this other child at the event that we were at. So
she didn't
here's the
say all that.
photo.
She didn't say
No,
all
you don't
that, but we can
have
agree
to
to
say
disagree.
all of that. You say, I'm with my kids, and I just so happens here's a picture that was taken that day. The other child is not her child, but Gigi absolutely is her child. So again, you guys don't give any grace or charity. That's the
But
problem.
but that's because if the boy is not her kid, why would I automatically give her that the picture of the girl was Gigi?
Because the girl absolutely fits the description of Gigi, who you've seen on the internet without her face a million times.
again, we'll agree to disagree. I'm just pointing
The
out something
same
that's out
blonde
there.
curly pigtails? Yeah, we've seen it a million
You
times.
you you didn't see the blonde curly pigtails in that picture, so you may need to go revisit the picture. It's not that
You can
obvious and
see the
evident.
blonde curly hair. Yes, you can. And that child's size is absolutely you can tell that that is a 3-year-old.
Okay, if you say so. So this flight itinerary, because I can see, we may hit on Erica again. I know you're gonna defend everything that Erica is doing, and that's fine. Again,
And
I'm not
I know that
saying
you're going to go against everything that Erica's doing. So,
no, I'm
you're
only questioning things that don't make sense. For example, I seen a podcast of you. I can't even remember when. But for example, you have you're a family woman, right? Married, kids, right?
yes.
I don't understand your perspective on defending Erica with the 15-year-old. Respectfully, I don't understand your perspective only because from a parent to a parent, I don't understand how you could blame, what I mean, the 15-year-old. I really don't. But I
I
would love to
never
hear your
blamed the
perspective.
15-year-old.
You said it's not Erica's fault. You
There's
defended
nothing to
everything she did.
blame. I don't believe that there's any like foul behavior going on. So there's no one to blame anywhere. I didn't put any blame on a 15-year-old. So if that's what you walked away with, then I don't think that you're understanding what I'm saying.
Well, that's because you defended every single thing Erica did in those conversations. So
Yeah,
what?
because it was very clear that she was in a mentorship relationship. The girl literally calls her a mentor and says that she is an amazing mentor. And Erica was absolutely in the pageant and modeling world at that time in her life. Again, these are messages from 2013, 2014. This is
It don't
over
really
a
matter what
decade
year it
ago.
is.
It absolutely matters.
No,
Um,
it doesn't. It doesn't. If you at
yes, it
any point in
does.
time, if any of my friends, if it doesn't even matter, my son, if he told me 15 years later that a 30-year-old man, I'm saying hypothetically, I know Erica was 25. If a 30-year-old man was texting him the things that I saw 15 years later, it
What did
doesn't
you
matter. I'm gonna
see?
go find that person. Well, I'm
What
gonna
did you
bring up.
see?
I'm gonna be very specific with you because I know how you are. Specifically, the screenshot of them texting. I don't even want to talk about the tweets. The screenshots of them
Hmm.
texting. She says, Erica. She says, your skin, your lips, your eyes, you're beautiful.
Sure, and I have the text or the tweets. Do you know that those are all like body parts that that girl had shamed herself on her tweets over and over and over again? That she was fat, she was ugly, her eyes were ugly, her teeth were ugly. There's actually literally a tweet of her saying that she scheduled a gum appointment to have her gums cut down to make her teeth bigger. I'm not kidding you. So Erica is specifically stating those parts of her body because those are parts of her body that that girl had put down about herself many, many times. And this is from pouring through all of these tweets. Literally, I read through all of them. It took me days to go through everything top to bottom. And you see this girl harping on these parts of her body over and over and over again that she's not good enough, she's ugly, she's fat, she's this, she's that. And so, yes, Erica is pointing out those specific things because that girl has destroyed those parts of her body. So she's trying to give her encouragement. She's trying to lift her up. And that's why she's constantly saying, you're beautiful. You're amazing. You're a wonderful, image bearer of God. Like, go do this thing. You've got this. Like, she's trying to give this girl some self esteem and build her up. Um, yeah, I mean, obviously, you have a 15-year-old girl who's literally saying that she's making an appointment to cut down her gums because she doesn't like her teeth. Like, this girl had
So,
some serious issues.
and I'm not denying that, but parent to parent, somebody's texting your child any of those things, and they tell you, Mom, she's just building my self-esteem. What do you say?
You do know that her mom was aware of that relationship and encouraged that relationship,
I'm
right?
not
You
calling
do
her. I'm
know
not
that
calling her a
Erica's
good mom.
mother knew about her as well. So there's other people involved here. It's not like they're talking in private and nobody knows that these conversations are going on.
Oh,
Also,
so
you're not
again,
taking into consideration that Erica is is the previous Miss Arizona, which absolutely plays a factor here. Like, you're not taking into consideration a lot of different factors.
So this is what I want to say. She has a mother that was aware. Erica's mother was aware. Two parents that I do not agree with. I will not call them any names at all. Two parents I don't agree with. So I'm talking to you though. Your daughter or son or whoever comes to you and tells you that a 25-year-old is texting them late nights. I've seen the timestamps. So 10 p.m.,
No, it
9:30
wasn't late
p.m.
night, and that's going by her. You're aware of time zones, right?
Sure. If
Okay,
that
Erica
plays
lived
a
in
factor into your
California at that
conversation.
time. Erica lived in California at that time, and our girl was in Michigan. So yeah,
Cool.
there's going to
So
be
again, I'm
a
a
2 to 3 hour time difference. So 8 o'clock for her is going to be 5 o'clock for Erica. So
yeah. So
again,
again,
like, you're not taking any of
parent.
that into consideration.
No. Parent to parent, I'm smart enough to know that I don't care about that. That's what I'm saying. I don't want to hit on this for too long. I'm just talking from parent to parent. I wanted to just talk to you about this because I
Also,
don't care
there's a
about no
chance
time
that
zone.
the time is also probably the reflection of the person who took the screenshot on their phone. It wasn't from the actual conversation. So,
I, sure. I mean, again, I want to get to the meat of it, which is parent to parent.
mhm.
There's no way that I feel like, again, I don't know you, but I'm just saying there's no way that I feel like you would condone any grown individual talking to your child that way
Yeah, I
in any
disagree.
manner.
Are you aware that there are mentorship programs where adults mentor teenagers, right? Like, have you ever heard of Big Brothers Big Sisters? It's literally a national program. Candace Owens herself was in it. It's in her high school yearbook that she was a part of Big Brothers Big Sisters. She was literally mentored by an adult when she was a teenager. And so yes, especially in a business entrepreneur, like, motivation to get up and go do something with yourself, which is usually what they're doing with these kids. The majority of the kids that are in these types of programs are from single parent homes who don't have much of anything. They have no hope. They have nothing, right? And so you have a lot of these entrepreneur business type people. Again, she was literally Miss Arizona, who are coming in to mentor a lot of these teenagers in these types of situations. And again, Erica in the pageant world was a part of a lot of these types of mentorship programs. And again, I don't think you're taking any of that into consideration or giving any of that context. And context absolutely matters.
I mean, again, I definitely have heard a lot about the pageant world, and I disagree with it as a parent. Period. So that's
Yeah,
why, yeah,
Erica didn't
I'm
like it
pretty.
either, which is why she got out of it pretty quickly and has said multiple times that she doesn't even like to talk about it because she wasn't a fan of it and she didn't like what it did to her life at that time.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. All right. So this flight itinerary with Andrew Covet. I want you to be, I guess break down your side of the story on. I'm not going to have talking points about Baron and all of that stuff because you're gonna realize, but when you leave from here, you're going to realize I am a normal person that has like my own thoughts. And I want you to
I've
just
seen some
break
of your
down.
lives. I don't think that you're not a normal person. I wouldn't have agreed to do this if I didn't think that you were a normal person. And I think for the most part, we've stayed very chill. This has been very chill for the most part.
Yeah,
Like,
it's all yeah,
yeah,
we good. We
again,
good.
I'm passionate about the things that I believe in, and I think that you can hear that from me. I'm not angry though. I'm super late. This is very laid back for me. Um, Compared to what I went through last night, this is a cakewalk compared to what I went through last night. So I will take you any day over what I dealt with last night.
We good, we good. So with the flight itinerary, I know that you came out and had your video about it and stuff like that. The internet had its opinions on the flight itinerary being fabricated. So what's
It's
your
not. It's
so
not
you're still standing 10 toes on the flight being real,
Yeah,
or that flight
I've
itinerary? I'm
literally
sorry.
I've literally debunked every claim that has come against it. So I mean, we
Okay, so
can
the,
walk
the
through
one
those if you want.
not all of them, because I'm no lawyer or anything to be able to say you're wrong
I
about
mean,
this,
you
wrong
don't
about
have
that.
to
I'm
be
just
a
curious
lawyer.
about.
It's all very very basic. Like it's dumbly basic, actually. It's kind of
Okay.
embarrassing for Barron, but
Well, I'm curious about the FAA debunking. I heard Barron's
Mhm.
side of it, and
Yeah.
it makes sense, and I would love to hear your side of it.
Yeah. Hold
Of
on.
wait, before you okay, yeah, before she
Sorry, I'm
explains
just getting my phone.
basically what was kind of brought to the internet, Barron, I think first brought it up, was basically saying that
Mhm.
the plane that was on the flight itinerary is registered by Regency Air. It's kind of operated
Correct.
under Regency Air. And
Correct.
Barron was saying that Paradise Jets, who is on the letterhead of the itinerary, it's impossible for them to create the itinerary and have a plane operated by somebody else on their itinerary because Paradise Jets has their own fleets. That is what's going on right now. And I'm gonna allow Lisa to take it away from there.
No. So the way that Barron set that up and presented it, he's omitting a lot of information, and this is the problem. So he keeps going on about how they're not a broker, right? He says, "Oh, they're not a broker. I looked into it. They're not a broker. I 100% can stand by the fact they're not a broker." Correct, because they're not. And the thing that he doesn't ever tell you is that there's another option. He doesn't let you know that there's another option available because, of course, he doesn't. So Paradise Jets is actually a FAA certified air carrier, which is actually better than a broker because, yes, they can operate their own fleet, but they can also operate as a broker. So they can do both. Brokers can only arrange transport, where a certified air carrier, they can arrange transport, but they can also operate the equipment. Like you said, they have their own fleet. They can fly those planes. So they can do both. They have the best of both worlds, where a broker can only arrange transport. You get what I'm saying? All right. Okay.
Okay.
Um, so yes, Regency Air owns that plane. You Paradise Jets, they simply literally set up the transportation. The person operating that plane that day was Regency. The pilots were Regency, the employees were Regency because that is their plane. They have the charter for that plane. So, literally, the booking came through Paradise Jets and that's it. They did the booking. They got the plane because there were no other planes available that day and all of the chaos. They are like Turning Point is one of their main clients. And so everybody at Turning Point, all of their top leadership had to jump on a plane. And so, due to there not really being any planes available, Andrew is the furthest away. He's living in Santa Barbara at that time, where everybody else is in the Phoenix area for the most part. Um, he had to come
Can I
from the
ask you
greatest distance.
can I ask you a question before you? I just want to
Well, I'm just
make
letting
sure I don't forget.
they actually had to go
Okay.
down to San Diego to get that plane.
Okay. How do you know Paradise Jets didn't have any more planes in their fleet that day?
I've spoken to the owner.
Okay, so I mean, this is the part that's
So
going to be
he has
confusing.
solidified all of this. In fact, he actually sent me their FAA certified air certificate. I have it here on my phone to say like they are legitimate, and he is not an individual who messes around. He operates by the book. So
Yeah, and so I
I
mean, you know, I
literally
don't
have
even.
their air carrier certificate right here on my phone. I don't know if you can see that, but that is the
Yeah.
official air certificate for Paradise Jets. So, no, they did not operate that plane. And that's what Barron keeps saying. Oh, it'd be illegal for them to operate this plane. Good thing they didn't. Regency Air was operating that plane. The booking is all that came through Paradise. That's it. But obviously the itinerary is going to come through the person who did the booking.
Okay. Well, this is kind of where I stand on all of this again because you're saying you talked to the owner of Paradise Jets
Correct.
and Barron and his team. They're saying they talked to the owner or
No, they
Paradise
didn't. They
Jets. I'm
just
not going to say the
called and
owner.
gave them some bullshit scenario. That's not the same thing.
What I'm saying, we don't know who they talked to at Paradise Jets, so we
Yeah,
can't
they
say
just picked up the
they.
phone and called.
But we don't know who they talked to. We cannot definitively say that. So what Barron is saying is that Daisy called Paradise Jets and they asked,
Mhm.
"Is it possible for you to create an itinerary with a plane operated by Regency Air on it?" And they said no. You're saying
Well,
you called
that's not
Paradise Jets,
true.
and it's possible.
They absolutely can, because again, all they did was set up the booking. They like this is just like when Expedia, when you make your booking through Expedia, right? They're acting as the um, booking agency. And so since they are a certified air carrier, again, they can set up, they can act as the transportation agency who is setting up the transportation, but they also have the ability to operate machinery and planes, right? They have the ability to do both. Again, the way that Barron presented it was that they are not a broker, and so they can't do these things. Again, he never gave you the other option of a FAA certified air carrier, which is a completely different category that they fall under, making it legal for them to do both. And so again, this is what I'm talking about. People are omitting. They're only giving you part of the information to spin it the way that they want it to be shown. And this is the problem.
Okay. Again, I told you before, you are here to speak your truth, and I am not here to go back and forth and tell you wrong about something. I just love to hear your perspective on things. Now, speaking in general here, and I'm
Mhm.
sure, everybody in the comments, everybody will be able to follow up with you, because I'm sure I don't know if you've already made a video on debunking Barron's claims. I think you said you got to finish the rest of it. So we'll be all looking
Just
forward
this
to that.
last portion about explaining the difference between just a broker and a certified air carrier, and like what those differences are and what that means, because Barron again never presented that as an option. Um, so I mean, I have it
Okay.
right here. I can read you. This is from
No, no,
the
no, it's
owner of
fine. It's fine.
this is
I
from the owner
swear.
of Paradise Jets. He said, "We did not
All right,
operate
let's
the
hear it.
aircraft. The operator is a very specific legal term which talks about who has operational control, which is a broader legal definition. We arranged the charter flight for TPUSA that day." That's literally, I was just talking to him earlier today. So they're saying we arranged the flight. We did not operate the plane, which is where Barron is getting into saying that they were operating illegally. They did not do anything illegal in what they did.
Okay. So you been talking to the owner of Paradise Jets via email, text, whatever. Can you
Mhm.
confirm, just so it could be on record? I'm not gonna continue to go too deep into it, but can you at least confirm what's your source of contact?
What source of contact? I just gave
Or I
you
mean, my bad, like your the preferred um method of contact. Email, text. How are you talking to the owner of Paradise Jets?
text. I'm on my phone.
So okay, so you're texting the owner of Paradise Jets. I just want to put that out there. So that way
Yeah,
everybody can hear what you're saying.
I asked him to describe to me what the difference is between the FAA air certified carrier meant versus that of a broker, and how they were involved with the transportation that day on September 10th with Andrew specifically. And I just read you his response. We did not operate the aircraft. The operator is a very specific legal term which talks about who has operational control, which is a broader legal definition. We arranged the charter flight for TPUSA. And then he literally sent me their air carrier certificate, which shows that they're allowed to operate in the way that they did. So they did not perform any illegal activities. Everything is on the up and up. And yeah, Barron didn't present that as an option to you.
Okay. And then you called earlier as well. You talked to the same guy, and then y'all started texting later. I'm just trying to make sure I understand, so that way later I can go fact check you.
I mean, I'm not going to get into like the ins and outs of how the conversation came to be.
No. I'm just saying, like, the timeline. You said you called somebody earlier, you talked to them, and then now, like, you've been texting back and forth, because earlier you said
No,
you called Paradise Jazz.
no, I said Barron says that he called Paradise Jets. I have
No,
never
you
called
did
Paradise.
too. You said you called, and I said Baron
No,
called, because you said you talked to the owner.
no, I said
And
you can just call and talk to somebody who works at the front desk who may be trying to answer that question, but that's very different than like actually talking to the owner of this company and clarifying what their certifications are and how they're allowed to operate and how they're not.
okay,
So
so I
no,
mean,
to restate, I have not called Paradise Jets. Um, have not. Have not called Regency
Oh,
Air either.
so how do you just get the phone number of the owner? That's interesting to me.
I'm not, this is where I'm not,
That's fine. You ain't gotta
this
you ain't
is
gotta
where
break
the
no sources.
conversation is going to end. But,
That's fine. You don't have to break no
this
sources.
is
I was
all
just
stuff
wondering.
that, again, I'm working on posting. I have one more thing that I'm waiting for to come through, and then I will put it all together for you.
Yeah, that's fine. I have to ask the question. If you can't go too further than that, that's completely fine. So the more broad question I have for you then, with this flight, I understand that you are saying that Andrew was in fact on it. Do you understand the perspective of he could have very well been on that flight? The problem that everybody has, and I can kind of already see what you may say, is that he is the one who said he gave Erica a hug when he got off the plane. Andrew said that, and I understand what you're gonna say, because Candace said that Andrew called her and told her that. You're probably gonna say we don't have any proof that Andrew actually said that. So just flow with me here. Andrew is
Mm-hmm.
the one that said that he got off the plane and gave Erica a hug on the tarmac. So he could have very well been on that plane, but he couldn't have hugged Erica as well. That doesn't make sense because we have the police scanners
Yeah.
that
I
say
guess
that they
it's a
picked
good
up
thing that he
Erica at
never said
3:30.
that, because it never happened and he never said it.
So we're gonna go with Candace's line again, pretty much. That's what you're gonna go with.
Absolutely, because it didn't happen.
Okay, so
It literally physically could not have happened. Based off the timing of those flights, it's not possible.
so a question just to you then. Why don't you think Andrew should come out and deny Candace from saying, Andrew, you told me that you gave Erica a hug on the tarmac? I don't think that has anything to do with the trial or the case. So why can't Andrew just say, Candace, I never told you that?
Again, because I don't think that, I don't know that that's going to matter. You guys keep saying that you want that, and then when he does that, you completely turn it around on him. So I think that he's just tired of
So
games.
do you think it matters? Do you think it matters? Not Andrew. I want to know if you
I
think
don't
it
know.
matters, Andrew.
He may decide to address these things at some point. I don't know what he's thinking or planning on doing. I'm not him. I can't speak for him, right? All I can do is make assumptions based off of previous behavior. But again, it seems to me that, yeah, every time he tries to dip his toe in the water to try to sort out anything, it completely goes awry and just makes things worse. Um
He does it to
I
himself
don't know.
though.
I
That's
mean,
the problem. He does it to himself, in my opinion. I just think that he says a lot,
okay, I
and when
mean,
he tells
that's your
his
opinion.
story, but well, the reason I say that is because if he was the person that came out and told Candace, yeah, I fell into Erica's arms, well, then yes, that's problematic because the police said they picked up Erica at 3:30, and Frank Turek said that Erica was at the hospital at 4. You made a
Mhm.
video about Andrew actually landing at 5. Thank you for
Mhm.
doing that. The problem is, if you actually gave Erica a hug, then that it's impossible. Somebody's lying. So it's problematic for what
Exactly.
Andrew said.
I think that the flights speak for themselves. The problem is that Candace and Barron are trying to put Andrew on a flight that he was never on, an earlier flight, because then they have to show this whole he had prior knowledge of Charlie dying. See, he got on a flight 14 minutes after the man was shot. How did he know he was going to be shot? They have to spin the drama. And so they're trying to assign him to a flight that he was never on. And that is the
But
problem, because when
the
you
on,
look at the flight that he was actually on, that this whole tarmac hug thing is literally impossible. Just mathematically, it's impossible. So it did not happen. Did they hug at the hospital? Yes, they did. Everybody
how do you
beat
know
him
that
there
though?
because he was the last one there,
But how do you know they hugged at the hospital?
because that's where everybody was.
I understand that. How do you know they hugged though? That's my question.
Because you're going to go into this situation and there's all of these people in a waiting room. Again, everyone was there before them. And yeah, it makes sense that you're going to go in, and that's when you would do a hug to comfort people in that situation, right?
So
Like,
how do you so how could you say that without a source? But then when Andrews tells Candace, I hugged Erica when I got off the plane. We just shouldn't believe it because it came from
Because he
Candace.
didn't tell her that. Like, and again, you don't even have any proof that that was ever stated. Is that on a recording? Is that in black and white in an
You
email?
don't have proof that he hugged at the hospital. You're just going off of
No, I
human
don't. I
interactions.
am speculating, and I'm telling you, I am speculating that if there was any hug that happened between them on September 10th of 2025, in order for any hug to have ever taken place between the two of them, the first time that they ever saw each other in physical form was at the hospital. So if there was a hug that day, that's where it would have had to have taken place. There was no hug anywhere near an aircraft or on an airstrip or at an airport of any kind, because they were never on a tarmac together that day. Based off of their own flight logs, that is impossible. Erica was already, she was almost 2 hours ahead of him, an hour ahead of him, whatever the math is there. She was at least an hour ahead of him. So again, no, I'm not saying that I have a source that a hug happened at the hospital. I'm just saying, based off of the departure times, arrival times, all of that, and the fact that there was no Scottsdale location, which they keep trying to put in the mix as well, again, because they're trying to put him on the wrong plane that he was not on. He went straight from Santa Barbara straight to Provo. Everybody else was already ahead of him and had already gotten to the hospital before him, based off of the timestamps from their flights. So that's what I'm saying. I don't have a source on a hug that happened anywhere. I'm just assuming based off of the numbers and the logistics.
Okay. And I do want to clarify one thing before we get off the flight itinerary, because what is it, 11:30? Yeah, we'll go to like 2 hours flat. So we got 15
I
minutes.
know. I'm
If
sorry.
that's cool with you.
It's only 8:30 here. We're so far behind
Yeah.
now. I hate it.
But the only reason the speculation is happening with this whole Andrew must have been on the earlier flight thing, I just want to also provide my opinion outside of what Candace and Barron are saying, is his flight does make sense of what he said, flew with his wife, all of that stuff. The only problem, which I know you said the tarmac hug never happened. The only problem is him saying
it physically couldn't have.
Yeah, but again, that's you giving your opinion on it, and then we also have to, I guess, disregard Andrew saying I did give Erica a hug, because
Except he didn't say that. Again, you have nothing
again,
in black and white that he said that. Do you have an email with him saying that? Do you have a recorded phone conversation with him saying that? Do we have audio anywhere, a video recording? Like, no, we have
so
absolutely nothing of him saying that. So you are going off of complete hearsay, which, I mean, again,
what's
you're
your
allowed to do, but like, you have to acknowledge that that is total hearsay.
yeah? So
I mean,
what's
she
your
also said
how?
that he was on a big plane by himself, pacing back and forth. He was on a Beechcraft Hawker. That's not a big plane. That's a tiny plane. He
Yeah,
was with
well, you
his
remember we
wife,
got
so
to
he wasn't by himself. So, I mean, Candace has already gotten multiple details absolutely unequivocally wrong here. So, how would you say that she got those things wrong, but didn't possibly get this wrong as well?
well, because again, I'm just going off of following the story here. Her theory is what she's tying together. The big plane is part of her theory. So I understand that it could probably be confusing of being like he wasn't on a big plane, he was on a Beechcraft, this, that, and the third. The big plane would have been the earlier flight, and I know you disagree that he was on that. So it's a theory. So I understand what you're saying, but you can't really go around saying she's spewing lies when she said my theory. If according to the tarmac hug, I know you're saying the tarmac hug didn't happen, she's saying it did happen. So she's saying if the tarmac hug did happen, I'm gonna go with this theory that he must have been on the earlier flight. The earlier flight means that he would have been on the bigger plane, if that makes sense. I just want to put that out there versus like she's lying about the earlier flight, she's lying about the big plane. It's just theories. You know what I mean? That I just want to put that out there. Your theory technically can't be wrong unless you can factually prove that it's wrong, if that makes sense. And we can't prove that Andrew Povett.
We have the itinerary of where the flight was booked.
It's an itinerary, though, Lisa.
You can just say that he wasn't on it, but
right, again, it's an itinerary. It's an itinerary. We can't factually prove that he was on the plane.
I have the owner of who booked the flight right here on my phone saying we booked that transport for a Turning Point. Like,
Right, but it doesn't factually prove that Andrew took the flight. It's an itinerary. And I'm not
so
even saying that he wasn't on the
you
flight.
honestly think that the owner of Paradise Jets is going to um like clarify for me what their certifications are and what they're allowed to do, but Andrew wasn't on that flight and he's just going to say, "Yeah, I don't know if he was on that flight." Like,
They don't really
why
care who
would he
takes the
even
flight.
be in the weeds of any of this unless he knows that Andrew was on that flight? Think about it.
But here's what I'm
Like,
saying though. He's the owner of Paradise Jets. So one, he's not booking the flight. He's too big of a person to be booking flights for people. Two,
correct,
nobody
but
cares.
he knew Charlie personally. He was involved in Turning Point personally and had a relationship with these individuals, and knowing the absolute chaos of what was going on that day, yeah, I'm sure that he was probably in the mix of them trying to get scrambling to try to get a plane for Andrew given everything that was going on, because they had to they were booking flights for all of those Turning Point people that day because they're like their main like point of contact for that resource when they need like flights for things, and this was an emergency situation. Like, do you really think that he's sitting there again? Do you think that he's sitting here clarifying for me what their certifications are on how they can and cannot operate while being like, yeah, I don't really know if Andrew was on that flight? Like, come on,
No, but
bro. Like,
here's what I'm saying though. Here's what I'm saying. I don't really care about like who booked it, but what I'm saying is in general, money gets paid to book the flight. As a business owner, I don't care about any of the other stuff. You pay me to use the plane, use it. So what I'm
great.
telling you
And you guys
is
say
that
that itineraries don't matter. He's literally told me that he has been called to court and those itineraries are used in court. So I know that you think that they're just nothing, but they do matter.
yeah, I mean,
And an itinerary
do
for
my own
an itinerary for a
research because an itinerary doesn't matter to me. I can't.
okay, but an itinerary for a private charter company is also different from a commercial flight, which people are also not taking that into consideration here.
Absolutely. Yeah, and well, good thing I am because I've never once said, "Where's his boarding pass?" or something like that. I know that it's totally different than commercial, but what I am saying is that an itinerary to me, again, I could be wrong because you're saying that you have some facts. An itinerary to me is an itinerary. So the plane could have been booked, and his wife could have taken a flight. But what I'm saying is, we just don't know who was on that plane besides the names who should have been on it. And so that's where the speculation happens, and the speculation is only happening because of, I know what you're going to say. Candace said that, Andrew said this, but the only reason the speculation is happening is because of Andrew telling Candace, I hugged Erica on the tarmac. If that would have
Mm-hmm.
never happened, then everybody would have said, sure, Andrew was on that flight, he got to Utah at 5 p.m., he went to the hospital, blah blah. But that's the problem. I'm just trying to figure out. I want to, we got 10 minutes. I want to pick your brain a little bit. If Candace has been somebody that has provided, you're gonna hit me with a rebuttal, but hear me out. She's provided a little bit of proof, right? I'm saying a little bit to save myself because I know you're gonna completely reject it. If
Mm-hmm.
she has provided some proof to claims that she has said, even just once, why don't you think she's credible? Like, how is she just not credible at all when she's provided proof at least one time? You gotta give me at least once.
What? Okay, even a broken clock is right twice a day, there, Jay. So, um, and part of what Candace's strategy is that she does use some truth. She will take a truth, and then completely manipulate it and twist it and do all these runs off of it into a million different directions. So I'm not saying that everything that she does is a lie. Some of it is rooted in truth, and she will take a truth and then expand off of that into a bunch of BS. But um, and that is what unfortunately makes her more believable to people who I believe are more gullible. But at the end of the day, yeah, I mean, she can be right on a couple of things here and there. Uh, That
So
doesn't
so if
really
you
mean
if
much.
you
I think
can
that Tucker Carlson could be right on a couple things here and there, or anybody else that I necessarily
so
disagree with.
the reason I ask you that is if you know and you can admit right now that she can be right about a few things, then why is it that when she says Andrew Kovac told me this, you're like, why are we taking Candace's word at face value when you're admitting that she can be right? I'm not saying to believe her at
Because
100% face
again, I
value,
think
but
the
why don't you
strategy
take her word more serious?
I think the strategy is to give just a little bit of truth just to bait the hook, and then you take it into an absolutely insane direction of dreams and purgatory and astral projection and MK Ultra government testing on children. And yeah, I mean, you know, yeah, you bait the hook with just enough truth, and then you have a heyday, and that's exactly what she's doing, and she's very good at her job because she's been able to convince and manipulate a lot of people.
Okay. And I guess somewhat towards the last topic, maybe. Um, why do you think, or in your opinion, um, I don't know how you feel about this whole Tyler Robinson thing. I feel like he did it and all that stuff. Why, in your opinion, do you think Turning Point is so fixated on Tyler Robinson being a lone gunman?
Because the evidence points to Tyler Robinson.
What if some evidence points that other people could be involved outside of Tyler Robinson? Why, in your opinion, do you think Turning Point doesn't care at the idea that that might be possible?
I think that they've said that they're very open to that possibility. They're not closed off to it. Andrew literally
Oh,
just tweeted earlier today that if this what was it, AC for queers or whatever that group, I don't remember the name of the group, but you know what I'm talking about. It's been thrown around that they were involved in some of these Discord chats and things that were happening behind the scenes. And he even said today, if it comes out that a group like that, for example, and he listed the name of the group, was involved, then yeah, absolutely. Like
so,
there's like, you guys realize that Tyler Robinson is if he pulled the trigger, which I believe that he did, and the evidence shows that he did with DNA and shoe prints on the roof and all of the other things, surveillance and all of that. Um, and there were other people behind him, or maybe there was somebody funding him, or whatever the case may be. They're gonna get the big fish first. This is the way that our judicial system works. They get the big fish first, and a lot of times they will line up the smaller fish and offer them a plea to testify against the bigger fish. Tyler Robinson is the bigger fish in this case, and so they may bring forth other people that they have worked out agreements with who are going to testify against him. And there may be charges that come down the line, but you got to get the big fish first. He has to be charged, he has to be sentenced, and then once you have that precedent, then you can take that into the other cases against the other individuals that are smaller who are going to trickle down. It's like with the mafia, right? You're going to have the smaller guys roll on the bigger guy. Like, at the end of the day, when you can get Al Capone, you don't care as much about Johnny G down the street. You're going to use Johnny G to get Al Capone. You know what I mean? So, like, it's all strategy, and it's all like, you guys are just constantly like, we don't know what the state has. And that's the other thing. This trial has not happened. We haven't even had our pre-hearing trial yet. We are missing so much information. We're talking 600,000 images and data. What is that? 6 terabytes?
that
Six
they
terabytes
that
of
they just
information?
that they just gave to the defense this month.
No, the defense has had access to a lot of that. But yeah, but the prosecution had to process all that. Do you understand how long that takes?
But I just
That's
want
a
to make sure
crap ton of data.
I just want to make sure we got the facts. The defense just got that this month. We just went through the entire court docs a couple hours ago. The
Well, and
defense just got that this month.
they're requesting an extension, and the judge may grant them that extension to have more time to process all that information. Because yes, the prosecution, some of the original hearings, even the prosecution said, like, we have all of this, but like, we haven't even been able to process it all because we just had another upload. I think it was like the day before, they had another upload of like 30,000 more documents that got added to the pile that they had to work through. So there's just a crap ton
But
of
so
data in this case.
do you see how it's kind of problematic when Erica gets up there and says, we want a speedy trial, but then her prosecution team sends over 600,000 documents this month and says, be ready in 2 months. Do you see that as kind of problematic?
No, I mean, he is offered a speedy trial under the Constitution. And
I
she has
understand that, but
certain rights as the victim's advocate of this case. And so no, it's the judge's job to not allow them to do unnecessary delays or unnecessary repetition of things, and it's his job to coordinate that and mediate between those two parties, right? And so yeah, Erica has the right to request certain things as a victim's advocate, and those are stated under the law in Utah that she has those rights. So she can request it. That doesn't mean that the judge is going to grant her request, though, but she has the right to ask through her attorneys, right?
oh, yeah, she does. She got her rights. I want to go back a little bit because I wanted to hit on something you said about Andrew Kovac, about wanting truth, because he has said that quite a bit. My thing
Mm-hmm.
with Andrew Kovac specifically is that it contradicts a lot, because you're wanting truth and you want whatever comes with it. If it's outside Tyler Robinson, I'm open to it. But yet Joe Kent is telling you that it might be more than Tyler Robinson, and he doesn't want to talk to Joe Kent. How would that make any sense? Joe Kent is offering help. He said, I'm willing to testify on behalf of the defense. And Andrew Kovac is mad about that,
I
versus
think
saying,
that
Joe Kent, come on my show and tell me what you know.
well, has Joe Kent ever offered his theory to the public of
Joe
what the
Kent has gone
alternative
on
is?
Joe Kent has gone on 4 or 5 podcasts. Andrew Kovac can get
Yeah, and I've never
got
seen
it.
him offer up what his theory or his thought process is on where an alternative outside of Tyler Robinson is. And so
He
if he'd ever like given that to the public, it sounds like
this is
he
what he
may
said. I can
have.
tell you. This is what he said. I can tell you. That way you can form an accurate opinion. He has said on about 4 or 5 different podcasts that he was provided enough kind of like leads and enough, I guess, evidence to at least go down that rabbit hole to see if the lead gets something, to see if the,
Mhm.
fish take, like, in a way. So he said that there was enough out there
Mhm.
to go down that rabbit hole, to go down several different rabbit holes. And he's already admitted that 99 leads sometimes mean nothing. But he was like, I'm just letting y'all know that we had a lot more. His words, we had a lot more to investigate, but we were blocked. A lot more. His
Well,
words.
he was blocked because it's not his job. But also,
It is his job. He's director of counterterrorism. If he feels
no,
like
he
there's foreign
doesn't get
involvement,
to look at a state investigation. The state police would take that over, and they did, and that's standard protocol. So,
but Joe
no,
can't. The counterterrorism can look at whatever they want if they feel like
no,
foreign
they cannot
involvement
do
is.
whatever they want. They have very clear guidelines on how they have to operate.
So
Um,
if foreign
you do know
involvement
there's
happens
literal
in,
legislation. We have seen in the past where intelligence has overstepped, and the intelligence community has absolutely meddled in things that they should not have meddled in, and it caused a lot of corruption
but
and a lot of like have you, I mean, all one needs to do is look at the history of the FBI and the CIA where these intelligence agencies have overstepped their boundaries and have gone outside of their purview. So
this,
no, what
this,
Joe Ken is wanting to do is go outside of his purview, and I don't think that that's right. Anybody who is a constitutionalist should be against that. um there are very clear laws and lines drawn in the sand for a reason, and he needs to stay within those lines. He doesn't get to just jump ship because he just has all these crazy wild theories. At the end of the day, the state has said, we have examined these things, there is nothing there, and we're going to put all of our time, energy, resources, and the taxpayers' money behind what makes sense. It does not make sense to keep going down 50 million different avenues using taxpayer funds and resources to do it when these are all very clearly dead end after dead end after dead end. That is a waste of your money.
I'm again, I'm gonna ask you. Utah ain't got nothing on the director of counterterrorism, knowing that if there's foreign involvement. So if the
That's not his
director of
job.
counter again, if the director of counterterrorism is getting leads, he has a job to go
His
after those
job is
leads.
to give that information to whose job that is, but that is not his job.
He's saying his department. Joe Kent has already
That's
said that his
not his
department.
department's job.
So you're saying he's on 5 different
He does
podcasts
not
lying
do
about
he
what his
does not
job
do a
is?
homicide investigation. He is not a
It's
homicide.
it's not
Like, that
it's
is
not
not his job.
Lisa, it's not about him figuring out
I know
who
that you
killed
just
Charlie
think that
Kirk.
everybody has these big government jobs, and that just means that, like, they just all like work with each other, but that's not the case. They have very
No,
clear
Lisa,
designated
that's
duties that they
like,
have to stay within.
but again, I'm not saying Joe Kent said I'm going after to see who killed Charlie Kirk. He's saying my job is to go at to detect if there's any foreign involvement. That's it. And he said we had a lot of leads that we needed to investigate to see if there was foreign involvement. And what Joe Kent words were is that the FBI blocked him when he had a lot of leads. They blocked him and they said Tyler Robinson is the guy, leave it alone. Joe Kent said, I have a lot of leads that we should at least go down just to see if they lead anywhere. And they said, no, don't worry about Tyler Robinson's the guy. Joe Kent then says, I'm not denying that Tyler Robinson isn't your guy, but what I'm letting you know is that I have these mountains of evidence that show that I should at least be interested in what's going on over here to see if there's more people than just Tyler Robinson. And the FBI said no. So Joe Kent was doing his job. He wasn't trying to figure out who killed Charlie Kirk. He was just trying to figure out, hey, I
Yeah,
got a
it
lot of
literally, like, if a simple Google search literally says, does the head of counterterrorism generally deal in a homicide investigation? No, unless there is a clear link to national security or active terrorist activity, such as a terrorist plot or mass casualty event. No, there wasn't a
that's what he was
terrorist plot or
doing.
mass casualty event that was active and, like, imminent. And so, no, this absolutely does not fall within the purview of his
But
job.
Lisa, that's what he's saying. He's saying his leads were
And I
around that
think that
topic.
he's lying. So, whatever. At the end of the day, these things have been looked at, they've been investigated, and the state has literally said, no, we're going to put our resources and our energy into what makes sense. None of this stuff is going anywhere, and it's a waste of time.
Again, they're telling somebody that actually does the job it's a waste of time when he's saying, no, it's not. I have more to
It's
do.
not his job. There are designated departments for major crime and homicide investigation, and the head of counterterrorism, that is not his job. I don't know how other way to explain this to you other than that is literally not his job.
Okay, so this is where we can agree to disagree. Are you hearing me when I say he's not going after the homicide department? Do you understand that, right? I'm not saying he's trying to
He
figure
is
out who
trying to
killed
get
Charlie Kirk.
involved in an investigation that is not crossing into his territory of his job.
He's trying to get involved on his side of the investigation, which is the leads that there may have been
Yeah.
foreign
Please tell
involvement.
me where we have had leads that have led to active, imminent terrorism and mass casualty events. That is where he would be brought in, and neither of those things were ever even a question from the beginning. We had one shot that rang out that unfortunately hit the target of who they were trying to hit, and nobody else was even shot that day, even though there was a huge crowd of people. He could have kept going. It was very clear that he had one target and one target only that he was working on to take out. So, no, this does not include a mass casualty event. This is not including an imminent terrorist attack on U.S. soil. Therefore, it is not in the purview of his job description or duties. Like, I don't know how else to explain this to you, bro. He's outside of the line of his duties. And
Okay,
unless
so
you're going to sit here and tell me that you want the intelligence agency to start meddling in things outside of the line of their work, I mean, you can say that on the record if you want, but I don't think that that's really what you're trying to say.
nah, and I'll leave it at this then with Joe Kent. And I got one last question, I swear. With
Mm-hmm.
Joe Kent, let's just say in your defense, in your theory, he's going outside of his job description. That's what you're saying. Let's say he gets fired because of that. I disagree. I think there was other things going on, but let's just say that was part of it. He tried to overstep, he got fired. Wouldn't it make you interested, like as TPUSA, as Erica, as Andrew Covet? Wouldn't you be interested in Joe Kent if he's saying, hey, look, I got fired for overstepping, but I'm letting you know that there's a lot more to your husband's murder. I got fired for it, but I'm just letting you know there's a lot more.
I mean,
You
he
don't care
didn't
about
get
that. You
fired.
just
He resigned. And
I'm
it's
just
because
saying,
he
and
was, I believe that he was being investigated. And I think he found out that he was being investigated. And
he just said
he was
he just said
given an
2 days ago.
ultimatum. You can walk away and resign and make this look, wrap things up and make it look a little bit better for yourself. Or, you can refuse to do that and then we're going to fire you. And then this is not going to look good for you. So
Okay,
I think
and
he was given an
wait.
ultimatum and he chose to resign.
But before you, if you have any more, he just said a couple of days ago. I can't remember when the Sean Ryan show was. He just said a couple of days ago when Sean Ryan directly asked him, "Were you being investigated? Are you being investigated? Excuse me. Were you the leak?" He said, "I am not being investigated. I have never been in, I guess, the site of being investigated. If I am being investigated, somebody didn't tell me,
Of
and
course
a
they're not
leak
going to
must
tell
have."
you. Duh. You really think they're going to go to him and be like, "Hey guy, you're doing this activity. It's illegal. But we're going to watch you. We're just letting
So,
you know that we're watching you." So then you're just going to stop doing the activity.
so
No,
let me ask you something then.
you're not going to tell your target that you are investigating them. Dirt to
So
dirt. You're going to do that secretively because you want to catch them in the act of whatever crime that they're committing. That's kind of
so
the whole point.
let me
No, he
ask you
would not
then.
know that he was being investigated until they would have come to him and said, like, again, resign, quit, or be fired, basically.
So let me ask you then. Let me flip it. They're investigating him while he's working in the counterterrorism department, and he has extremely high classified documents. They're going to allow him to continue working there while he has access to all of that, and then wait for him to resign when
No, I
they
don't
know
think
he's
that
the
he
leak.
just continued to have access to all of that. They were slowly
He's already
shutting him
said
off to things. And
he's already
again,
said
while
on
they were
record.
slowly shutting him off to things, yeah, I think he started to put two and two together of like, oh, they're watching me. That's why they're slowly shutting me out. Even on the news, we had people like that went on Fox and stuff, and they're like, yeah, he hasn't been he has not been in any of the president's briefings for the last 3 months because he was shut out of those briefings, and they were slowly starting to remove him and pull him back from things over time. And yeah, eventually, obviously, he's going to start putting two and two together. He's not a stupid individual.
So what do you say then about Joe Kent himself saying, "I have never had any of my documents shut off. I have never been blocked from anything. I chose to resign and then they shut me off." What do you say to that? Because that's
Yeah.
debunking everything you're talking about
Did
right
the
now.
interviewer push back and ask, well, why were you no longer allowed in the briefings with the president?
Did he?
No, they
I don't
didn't.
think so.
Because that would have been my question of like, oh, so you weren't being shut off from things, but like, were you in the president's briefings up until you left? Because
But
his
I think it would.
administration has come out and said that you were not, which is why you didn't have the current up-to-date data on the threat that was Iran. And you're now saying that they weren't a threat to the United States. And the Trump administration is saying, well, no, he didn't have the current information or data because he had been removed from my briefings. So, you know,
Yeah, I mean, we can, agree to disagree. I definitely, I don't know. The Joe Kent situation is crazy. My last question for you, though, before I think we have a few questions for you, is the bullet found to be inconclusive. What's your opinion on that?
I mean, I've been looking at a bunch of attorneys and legal analysts and what they're reporting on this today, and just because it's inconclusive does not mean that it's not a match. That's not what that means. When it comes to the type of long range shot that you have in, I believe it's like 30 to 40% of cases where that's happening, it's very common for the bullet to fragment the way that they're seeing. And it's just very difficult to like then do testing on those fragments
Who
to try to connect them to the weapon.
who said that it's very common for it to fragment when it hits the neck? Who said that?
That's not what I said. I said long range shooting events. 30 to 40% of those cases, the bullet cannot be tested back to the weapon because the fragmentation is so bad that you have to realize that this is difficult science in the best case, and in the bad case, it's pretty much bunk science. So it's kind of in the pseudoscience range. Like, this is not good science to operate off of in general. But then but it doesn't really matter. The prosecution is literally saying, like, we have more than enough on him that even if this one bullet jacket fragment doesn't match, we're going to be just fine. Like, this does not acquit him in any way, shape, or form. This does not show any level of innocence or anything like that. It's literally, and not only that, they're actually trying to get further testing. They want to do more testing on it, and the defense
Yeah,
is
the
trying to block
FBI.
that. The
Because
defense is
that's
trying to
because
block that testing. So
I would
it
too,
just
but
comes down
that's
to the
because the
fact that
FBI.
the science behind this just isn't great.
Well, so a couple of things we said. I would block it too because ATF that handles firearms found it to be inconclusive, and somehow the FBI is
Mm,
going to do further analysis to
well,
see if they can get a better
the
finding. Yeah, I
reports
don't want
that
the FBI touching it.
the reports that we're getting is not from the ATF report. You know that, right? The reports that we're getting
It's
is
in the
from the
court documents,
defense's documentation. Yes.
but the
And
defense
so,
document said the ATF findings show the bullet
yeah,
to be
and again,
inconclusive.
this is not uncommon. What we're seeing right now is not uncommon. Again, this was reported back in October, so I don't even know why they're regurgitating old information. We've known this since October.
Yeah, no, I'm aware of that, but we need to address that it is.
Even in the beginning, Candace Owens herself said that the bullet was so fragmented that they probably wouldn't be able to do anything with it. So,
So,
yeah, this is common for these cases. This is not like a gotcha. This is not a, oh my God, hung jury. Like, what are we going to do? Everybody's running
but
around like with their heads cut off. That's not the case. This is very
here,
common and happens all the time.
here's my issue though that makes it problematic for me, and I'm not disputing anything that you're saying about it being uncommon or common or none of that. The problem I have though is Erica specifically used the autopsy as one of her bullets in the CBS interview as one of the smaller mountains of evidence that leads up to the big pile of evidence they have that guarantees that it's Tyler Robinson. She has said that many times, definitely in that CBS interview. She said, I saw the autopsy. I saw it. It's him. So if you saw the autopsy in September, because we just found out today that it was September 10th, if you saw the autopsy, then you should have already known that we could not confirm or deny
Well,
if
she
it
would
came
have
from Tyler
seen the
Robinson's gun.
initial autopsy. She's not going to see the full report. That takes a while to
Okay, so
get. But she would have saw the
she
initial one that's mentioned in the charging documents. Yes.
so if she all right, so today it's months ago, weeks ago, whatever. It's found to be inconclusive. She should have already known that for months now. So why would you come out and say that I saw the autopsy and he is the guy? I saw it. Nothing in the autopsy
Because
points
she
to Tyler
also knows
Robinson.
a bunch of other things about this case that we don't. She's getting
Again, I'm
information from
speaking
her lawyers and so, yeah, she maybe have openly spoken about that one piece,
another
but there's a
misspoke, I
bunch of
guess.
pieces floating around there that you're not getting, and she's not going to say those things out loud, because that's being discussed with her lawyers. Again, as the victim advocate in this case, she gets access to information that the general public is not going to have, and she's not going to risk putting this trial in jeopardy by running her mouth to the public or the media. That doesn't make
Okay,
any sense.
so and again, I
And
understand
the
what you're
autopsy
saying,
she was
but
talking about, again, is just the initial, like, pre-autopsy that they have, the initial findings. That's not like the full front to back.
and and that's fine. The problem I have is you going in front of the public saying you saw the autopsy, because then that's making somebody out there say, dang, Erica
Yeah,
knows
because that
something
was
that I
already
don't.
in the charging document at that point. That was already released to the public. She wasn't saying anything that we didn't already know. Again,
But
that's
she
that's
said
not new
but that's what she
information.
was speculating. She was speculating that she's seen something more than we have, because we didn't know about the
No, I
frag.
don't
We were
think so.
assuming.
I think that she was referring to what's already talked about in the charging documents, which is
She
the
said
initial
this.
findings report, autopsy, which is not the same as the full report. I don't think that they even have the full report yet. Depends on how
So
fast
do you
it depends on how fast the medical examiner decides he wants to do his job, but
so you don't agree then that it's not, you don't think it's problematic for Erica to come out and say that I saw the autopsy and Tyler Robinson is definitely our guy, but yet the autopsy doesn't even point towards Tyler Robinson?
She
You
found
don't see how that's
she would have seen the initial findings report, not a full autopsy report.
it
Again,
doesn't matter. What I'm saying
like,
is, why would
even
you
in my
say that?
brother's death, we didn't get the full autopsy because that includes toxicology and everything until 6 months after his death. So probably
That
right about now. She's probably right about now getting the full toxicology. All of that is included in that autopsy report. It's all of it. Are there any drugs in his system, any alcohol in his system, all of that stuff, right? She's probably just now getting that. But
okay.
as far as the initial findings, which was in the charging documents, yes, she would have been privy to that information.
Yeah. I mean, again, so where I stand is, again, the problem I have, because yes, I understand that the bullet was found to be inconclusive a while back. I already knew this information. And when I saw it released on the Daily Mail yesterday, I already knew that was kind of misleading. So I knew that already. The problem I have, again, that I'll stand on is Andrew and Erica specifically, because I mean Blake Neff too, but those people specifically said that the evidence is overwhelming. And again, I'm not going to sit here and say that they don't have other things. But what I'm saying is, you cannot come out and blame everybody for tainting the jury because we're watching Candace, or Candace is saying this, when you're also coming out saying, I saw the autopsy and Tyler Robinson's guilty, when no autopsy has been conducted that point to Tyler Robinson. That is problematic.
What do you
Andrew
mean no
Colbert has
autopsy has been conducted that points to
no,
Tyler Robinson?
no. Yes, no autopsy has been conducted that points to Tyler Robinson. Yes, that's what I'm saying.
No, it wouldn't necessarily. An autopsy can't point to a
Yes, it can.
unaliver. No, not unless like they've got finger marks around,
No, 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 no.
their,
The
and they're
point I'm
matching
making.
like their hands, and they've got their DNA under their nails because there is
Yeah,
a physical struggle. Then an autopsy can point to a certain individual.
Lisa.
But when you're shooting someone from a distance away, she's talking. There's other parts of this that she knows that no, we're not gonna know because she
No,
has
so let,
a vested interest here that we don't have.
but let's keep it real simple here. This is what I mean by the autopsy does connect somebody to the crime. If I go out and shoot somebody right now, right, and they end up dying, the
Yes,
cops test
based
that
off of
bullet. But
the bullet that they took out of his body, does that caliber match the weapon? That kind of thing. Yeah,
that's what I'm talking about.
that's going to
That it
connect
points
him.
to Tyler Robinson. So that's what I'm saying. If no autopsy
Yes.
has the point I'm making again is that if no autopsy has been conducted that points to Tyler Robinson, which is a fact, no autopsy has been conducted where you can come out and say, I know it's Tyler Robinson. That hasn't happened. Yes? Can we agree?
It has happened. It's in the charging documents.
Again, explain to me how the autopsy points to Tyler Robinson.
The
That's
bullet
the
that they
question.
took out of his body matches the gun that they found in the
No, it doesn't.
area where he dropped it,
No,
where
Lisa,
he
no, it doesn't. It's inconclusive. We already established this. Why are we going backwards?
no, one fragment was
That's the
inconclusive.
only thing they found is one fragment.
Okay, so you're totally like you're just eliminating the rest of the charging document here
We're
because of
staying on
one
topic
bullet
here.
jacket
No,
fragment
no, no,
that
no, no,
has
no.
been
We're staying
like
on topic here.
annihilated.
We're staying on
That's what we're
topic here.
doing right now.
I want to stay on topic here. I want to just
We
talk
are
about
on
autopsy.
topic.
I want to just talk about autopsy, and I want you to explain to me how it points to Tyler Robinson.
Again, the autopsy, the initial findings autopsy is listed in the charging documents. Therefore, they were able to link aspects from that autopsy to the other evidence that's listed in that charging document. And you cannot have things in a charging document if they're not real and they don't exist. So, unless you're going to stake everything on that charging document is completely fabricated, I guess you can go ahead and do that, but that's a wild claim.
What I'm saying is, in the autopsy, the only thing they have is a single fragment. And that fragment was found to be inconclusive, which
We don't
means that
know
they
that they
cannot
have a single fragment. We don't
Yeah,
know
it's in the
everything
charging
that they.
documents. It's in the
That's
charging
all that's
documents.
listed to tie
I
him
mean,
to the
no.
immediate
My
charges.
bad. You got me saying charging documents. It's in the preliminary hearings in the court documents
We
that have been
haven't done
released.
preliminary hearing yet.
It's in the court documents, Lisa.
No,
I made a video about
they're
it
trying to
2
push the
weeks ago.
preliminary hearing back because you're just
Well,
saying that they got all of those. We got all that data that
what?
they have to process. So
Okay. So let me ground it down. whatever Tyler Robinson is in the courtroom right now for, whatever you want to call it. I could be wrong about preliminary hearing, whatever.
Um,
The pre of something. What's happening right now at this moment? Tyler Robinson's team already said 2 weeks ago, because I have a video about it. They released the documents, and the ATF came out with it 2 weeks ago that they found a single fragment, and that one single fragment was found to be inconclusive. I don't know why the news media decided to post it last night and mislead everybody, but this has happened 2 weeks ago. Today, it's obviously blowing up. So what I'm
it
saying is,
wasn't 2 weeks ago. I mean, we knew about this fragment in October. That's
no, we didn't. It wasn't confirmed.
this.
We didn't know
Yes,
of,
this was
like,
discussed back in October.
it was speculation. We didn't know what the autopsy said at all into like a month or so ago.
I mean, again, we have what's in the charging document, and I believe that bullet fragment is mentioned in the charging document because it was taken from the autopsy. I mean, I have we can pull it up and look at it. I just looked at it last night.
So
But at the
again,
end of the
the point.
day, like at
Are
the
you
end
hearing
of
the
the
point that I'm
day,
making, though?
I mean, even if this one bullet fragment cannot be tested back to that rifle, because again, this is already a difficult scientific process to do. It's very common that they don't match, right? They have already said we have more than enough other evidence, such as his literal DNA being on the spent cartridge, being on the rifle, being on the literal
There
trigger.
were 6 DNA prints found on the rifle. We
Yeah, because
already
it's
know
a
that with the court
family
documents.
heirloom gun. It was his
Right.
grandfather's
So
gun. It's been in the family
okay.
quite a while. Yeah,
So
there's going
here
to be
here
other
what
people's DNA on that
so
gun.
here so here what you're telling me, though. They're using his prints when you just admitted to me that the family owns the gun. So his granddad could have been a killer. So
No,
you
a
can't say the
print
prints were on
has
there.
to be like for a print to be left, there has to be within a certain amount of time frame. DNA, like trace DNA, can be found on things months and months later, right? Sometimes years later, you can find trace DNA on something. But there's also ranges of strengths within the DNA that they're picking up. And so trace DNA is going to show them, oh, like, yeah, this is very old. They can look at the breakdown on that DNA and tell you how long it's been on that item and how old it is, roughly.
That
So the DNA from him taking that shot that day is going to be very fresh. Fingerprints are going to be very fresh based off of trace DNA from a relative that used that gun to go hunting 6 months prior. Like, yeah, that's going to look
so
very different on a report.
so if it's extremely fresh, then why didn't they conduct a gunshot residue situation? They should have. Why don't we have that?
They may have, we don't know.
It would have been in the charging documents. They're coming up with the autopsy already.
Not
They're coming up with the
necessarily. They also
fingerprints.
didn't catch the man until how many hours later? 30 some
33.
hours later? Yeah. So if they didn't catch him until that long, there's a chance that gunshot residue would have been gone by that point. So that doesn't
Uh,
mean that they didn't run the test, but that doesn't mean that it would still be on him.
okay. And again,
And I
where
believe
my
that he
point.
might have I mean, I think that he may have changed his clothes and things from point A to point B. So I mean, this is all stuff that is going to have to come out in trial. We don't have all this
and
information.
and that's fine. I told you before, I'm not, nobody's wrong, right? Whatever. Only from what I've been reading. The only thing I was saying again that was problematic is that Andrew Covet and Erica Kirk have came out and said that the evidence was overwhelming, and Erica said, "I saw the autopsy." That's impossible because the autopsy does not point to Tyler Robinson. So for her to come out and say to the public, "I saw the autopsy, it's him," that's tainting the jury. That's making that's
No,
manipulating the
there
public,
must be
thinking that
something in the autopsy that does point to him because, again, it's listed in the charging document, and that can't be stated that way unless it's true. So at that
it's
point, you're just disagreeing with the charging documents. So
there's nothing else, and hopefully on that particular argument with the autopsy, you'll maybe see my perspective one day that it is problematic for Erica to say that.
I
Um,
don't, but okay. I don't even
yeah,
understand like where you're getting at with that, but
what I'm getting at is that they're blaming everybody for tainting the jury and misguiding the public. Again, I'm gonna just say it one more time, and then we can call it a night, though, because I know it's getting late for me. I know it's early for you. The sun probably still up. But the autopsy, she said She saw it. And it points to Tyler Robinson. We now know that the bullet was found inconclusive. So whatever she saw was a lie,
Hey,
or she made it up.
the bullet fragment being traced to the markers on that gun. Do you even know what they were looking for?
What do you mean? Continue.
Okay, when a bullet travels through a weapon, it leaves groove marks that are specific to that gun on
Yes, I
that
know that
bullet,
already.
right?
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
So when it hits the target and it's designed to literally explode into a million pieces, fragmenting, do you understand that it's very difficult to then take those tiny little pieces of fragmentation
It
and
was only
try
one.
to run those groove and ridge tests on those to trace it back to that weapon?
Yeah, I hear you in general, but it was only one piece of fragment. It should have been a million pieces. That's a great point you made, but it was only one single piece somehow, and that single piece is inconclusive.
I
But
again,
yet
we don't know all of that information. So,
it's out there. That's the only reason why I'm talking about it right now. I wouldn't really
yeah,
be
but
going back and
it's
forth. I wouldn't be going back and forth if it wasn't out there. That's why I'm bringing that up. The only reason I'm saying that again is because Andrew Kovett and Erica, they use that as one of their bullets. And when somebody does that and it comes out that, it's not what you made it seem like, that's very manipulating. And I don't appreciate Andrew Kovett and Erica Kirk saying that the autopsy was one of the things that was so overwhelmingly clear that it was Tyler Robinson. I don't appreciate it. That's all I'm saying.
okay, even
But
if you completely throw out the bullet, you throw out the autopsy, there's more than enough evidence to convict this individual. So,
we'll see. When you lie to me one
I mean,
time, you lose a lot of credibility.
we have high level lawyers making public statements that they could throw out 90% of this case and they would still have more than enough to convict Tyler
Yeah,
Robinson.
I
So,
I heard that. I heard that from Andrew Kovett, and I don't believe a single thing he says. So I hear you though.
no,
I heard that from Andrew
I
Kovett.
actually, when he said that, I went and I looked up the actual interview with the guy, and that's exactly what he said. So, and that interview was given months prior to him making that statement. So, at the end of the day, between DNA evidence, shoe print evidence, you've got fingerprints, you have surveillance footage. Again, there are what 9,000 cameras on the UVU campus. I'm not going to be surprised if they absolutely have the video of him laying down on that roof and taking that shot. Now, we don't know that
Uh,
for sure
There,
until this trial happens, but that would not surprise me at all.
we'll see. We'll see. There is a guy out there that recorded him laying down on the roof, or somebody laying down on the roof. And I seen it leading up all the way until the shot takes place. So I'm hoping that guy comes out. I'm hoping we'll see. I don't know, but I do appreciate though your back and forth. Did you have something else? I was gonna get to some of the questions
I'm
that
just
people
gonna say,
have for
like,
you.
if they do produce that when the trial happens and that evidence, like, if they straight up have a video of him on camera doing that, will any of you guys admit that you were wrong then, or are you gonna be like, that's not him? I mean, we already literally have footage of him on campus, and I have had multiple people on your side tell me that that was not Tyler Robinson, even though his own mother identified him through that footage. But okay.
Yeah, so I'll tell you where I stand. I can't speak for everybody else. If first off, how I think this is gonna end
Mm-hmm.
is when the FBI does their own analysis on the fragment because the ATF didn't do a good job, they're going to find it to be a match somehow. It's gonna match the rifle. Tyler Robinson is gonna be guilty because of that, because that's all they really need, to be honest.
They don't
He's
even
gonna
need
take
that, so I don't.
that. I mean, that's fine.
It
That's
may
fine
just
too.
get thrown out because it's not conclusive. Which,
That's
I
that
mean, the
that
defense is going to be allowed to call their own their experts and their own forensics people, just as the prosecution is allowed to call their people. So we'll see what
yeah,
happens.
and that's fine too. But what I do think is gonna happen is that Tyler Robinson will be found guilty. I've said that plenty of times. I think that he will take a plea, even though, in my opinion, I think there's a lot of evidence that would argue that he didn't pull the trigger. I'm not saying that he's innocent by any means. I just don't think he pulled the trigger. But I think he's gonna take a plea. I think that he may not make it to trial, or he'll take a plea and he'll serve time and this will get buried. And yes, once that happens, I'm letting you know now, once that happens, I'm going to come out, make a video saying I seen this coming. However, I still don't think he's guilty, But Tyler Robinson is in prison for life. So I guess we move on, and we'll never, in my opinion, never really know what truly happened because it's over. The case, nobody has to ever bring evidence again. Prosecution team doesn't have to bring anything again because I think he's going to take a plea early on. But yes, to
I
answer
think
your
he's
question, I
gonna
will come out and
try
make a video.
to. I think that the evidence against him is so bad that at that point, I think his defense is going to shift from trying to show innocence, and they're going to shift to trying to get the death penalty removed and at least, yes, get life in prison.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because at this
I
point, like
mean,
with the death penalty being on the table, that's obviously a huge deal, and I think that they're going to try to get that pled down. But at the end of the day, how do you feel about? It also came out yesterday that his parents and Lance Twiggs are testifying on behalf of the prosecution. How do you feel about that?
I mean, were they subpoenaed? Like, were they called to testify? Because if so, then they don't really have a choice. But I mean, if they, like, well, that's a question. Do you know if they were called or if they're willing? Like, do you know?
No, it just the everything I've read on it doesn't clarify. It just says that they have been or that they will be. So
Yeah. Okay. Well, if they were called to testify, then I don't really have an opinion because they don't have a choice. But if they're willing to testify against him, I'm curious for sure to see what they have to say because obviously they're essentially turning him in again just on the stand. So I'm curious because I'm interested on why the cameras at the police station, the footage disappeared. I'm curious on that. I'm curious on why these two YouTubers, Brandy and Billy, they went to the courtroom and they've been sitting in the trial, or not the trial, whatever this pre-thing going on right now. They've been sitting behind Tyler Robinson's family, and the family is saying Tyler Robinson didn't do it, and the whole turning him in was fabricated. I'm going off of what they're saying. So if they are
the problem
testifying
with them is
against
that they're
him,
not saying what family member they're speaking to. And so we don't know if this person was even close to him. We don't know if it's like a third cousin twice removed that hasn't seen Tyler since he was like 6 years old or something. Like we have no idea family member could literally mean a lot of different things. So,
yeah, but I'm gonna take their word for it. Just like how when you told me you talking to Paradise Jets, I'm gonna just have to take your word for it until somebody can prove you wrong. You know what I mean? So in
sure.
this situation, I'm taking Brandy and Billy's word that the Tyler Robinson's family disagrees with the entire trial.
Right. But I
So
just
I'm
think it's
curious.
odd that they won't clarify what they mean by family. Like, again, are we talking his sister or somebody who's like right there? I don't even know if he has a sister, but I'm just saying, is it like a sibling that's like right there in the mix daily, who was involved with Tyler, who knew him every single day? Or are we talking about, again, like an uncle that hasn't seen him since he was a kid or something, and like doesn't even hardly talk to the family? Saying that you're talking to a family member can mean a very wide range of different things. And so that's just very vague and very non-specific. So that's kind of my problem.
I feel you. I feel, but you told me you had a source earlier that you didn't want to reveal. You know what I mean? It's
I just told you I didn't want to get into the whole exchange of like how I got in contact with him to like first of all, it really doesn't matter. Um there was a process of what I went through to be able to get in contact with him to get the responses that I was asking. But at the end of the day, and I told you, I had talked to him on text message. You were asking whether I had talked to him over the phone or on text message, and I answered your question. I'm not going to get into the whole like how I went through the whole rigmarole to like get in contact with the guy. I'm not going to go through all of
yeah,
that
but
because
for
it
for
doesn't really matter at the end of the day anyway. I did,
but
and I literally, again, I have their freaking air certification, their carrier certification. So
I mean, what's his name?
the name of the owner of Paradise Jets.
Yeah,
I mean, that's on the internet. That's just like public information. You could Google it
I
right
know,
now.
but I want you to tell me so then I can go back and cross check.
Jamie Thomas.
Jamie Thomas.
His wife's name is
Okay.
Cynthia.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm just plugging it in so I can start looking at it later on.
I'm like, but like
Yeah,
that's not
that's my
really
take.
gonna verify much for me. Again, literally, like you could be like, oh well, Lisa just looked it up on Google. Because yeah, I mean, you literally can just Google it and it'll tell you. So that's not, I'm just saying I don't want people to be like, ooh, she thinks that she knows something because she was able to say his name. And I'm like, you guys can literally look that up on Google.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I just wanted to see so I can put it up myself because I'm gonna forget later.
Yeah, no, his name is Jamie Tom. I mean, he's on their website too. Like if you go to the website, you can pull it up, and like again, that's kind of the route that I went through to get through where I got, was working through their website to get contact. But again, like he's literally listed out on the public, so that's not like a secret or anything.
Yeah, I think it's shocking to me that like you're texting Jamie. You know what I mean? That's shocking. I'm not saying it's impossible. It's just shocking. So that's why like that's a whole thing.
Well,
But
be shocked, my guy.
do you have any other questions for me before I go through the questions for you?
I don't think so. I mean, I feel like we touched on a lot. We covered a lot.
Yeah. And I definitely I appreciate you. I still appreciate you coming on and providing your perspective and keeping it a safe space, even while disagreeing. So I do appreciate it. I'm gonna go through some of these questions for you. That way, you can at least enjoy the rest of your night, and then I'll go through the rest of the questions after. Let's see. Here's the first one.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you getting angry? Do you have a
Was
comment?
not
Or I'll find the
angry. I
next
have
one.
not been angry. I have not been angry this entire. You guys have clearly not seen me angry. If you think that this is me angry,
um,
no, I have not
Lisa,
been angry this entire time.
Lisa, you will regret your views in 5, 10, 20 years. Andrew literally told two people it was supposed to be them. Your trust of the government is wild.
Wait, told two people it was supposed to be who?
Andrew, and I know what you're gonna say just because I've known you a little bit more throughout this interview. Andrew
Mm-hmm.
told Candace that it was supposed to be Candace and Tucker Carlson, and they're after them next.
So, okay, I actually did some digging and got some clarification on that. Do you want to go over it?
Sure, yeah. This is the floor is yours, all yours.
So that whole, uh thing. So basically, from how I understand it, in the immediate like day, literally, like I think it was like the day after Charlie was killed, so in the immediate aftermath, okay, the shooter had not been caught yet. You have to realize that this individual was still at large. They're still searching for this individual. It was something like a guy who had been on the Charlie Kirk show in the past, who has an intelligence background, went to Turning Point officials and basically said that he had gotten a tip that, yes, Candace and Tucker were supposed to be the first ones that were taken out. And he basically said, like, in the duty to act response that you have, if you have the ability to reach out to these individuals and give them a heads up, you should. And so that's exactly what was done. They reached out to Tucker and Candace and gave them the heads up and basically said, like, hey, we don't want to scare you or freak you out or anything. But since this individual is still out there and they're still looking for this individual, again, this is in the direct immediate aftermath of this whole thing. So you have to keep that in mind. We want to do our due diligence to, like, make sure you have security, all of that. Apparently Candace's response was that she was not worried about it. She basically said, I have security. I'm going to be at home anyway. I'm not leaving, so I'm good. Okay, cool. So then we get to a little bit more time goes by. She was also informed that that information was being given over to authorities to be properly investigated, which it was. That information was given over to the administration. It was properly looked at, and basically it ended up being they concluded that there was no threat. It did not exist. It wasn't an issue. And so it ended up not being a thing. So, yeah. Candace, it sounds to me like she took someone who wanted to make sure that, she didn't die, which seems like a good human decency thing to do, even though they weren't relatively close to her at that time. But even though they weren't close to her at that time, regardless of their differences, they're like, look, you still have little kids. You still have a family. I don't want you to die. And given everything that just happened with Charlie, I don't want you to go through what I'm literally going through and experiencing right now. So yeah, it's my due diligence to make sure that I give you a proper heads up. And the tip ended up not being credible. So that's it. That's the end of the story. That is the big thing that turned into the French government and Mossad and all of this nonsense. But I mean, take it for what you want. But
all right, next question for you. And again, I'm gonna get to all questions and comments. We're just doing only Lisa at the moment. That way she can enjoy the rest of her night. And then we'll get to the rest afterwards. The next one is, have you ever talked to Andrew yourself? Outside of Twitter. I want to be specific.
Not outside of social media. No.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Sorry, I'm looking.
I saw one that just came up about the itinerary.
Okay. Yeah, I'm scrolling. We saw that Andrew was giving Gary as an alibi, period, in the story. They got caught live on stream. Yes, that was the conversation. That's not even a question, but that was.
I'm going to go back through and watch that interaction because it's been quite a while since that happened like a long time, months ago now. It seems like forever at this point. But yeah, I'm going to go back through and watch that whole interaction. And
yeah, it was a slip up. I mean, just being completely honest.
I may also ask Gary about more details on that.
Yeah, I mean, I watched the playback and it was
because yes, I have spoken to Gary. Obviously, you guys know I've been on his show. So I that's just something that I'm just gonna ask him to clarify that situation for me more. So
does Lisa watch all the Candace episodes? Also, did you get back to asking her about the current war? I had to take a call. So yeah, does Lisa watch all the Candace episodes? That's the first question.
It's hit or miss. I find her very difficult to watch. Literally every time I try to watch her, I fall asleep. I'm not even kidding. I think she's boring as hell. So I usually scrub her episodes. I definitely speed them up on like 10 times faster. I'll also sometimes wait for clips after the fact of like what it is that I'm actually looking to see if she's touching on certain topics, and then I can just go back to that specific topic. But yeah, when she goes on her long tangents of just running the same thing like over and over and over to drill down on a point, I'm like, I get it. Can we move on to the next? So yes, I have watched entire episodes. I've also just watched clips of things that I feel are relevant to like the discussion, to get rid of all the nonsense. But yeah.
Okay. Last question for you. Oh, my bad. I'm sorry. Your thoughts on the current war?
Oh, with Iran? Well, it's not a war, it's a conflict. But to clarify, the conflict that we have with Iran, I don't know. I really hope that they're going to be wrapping it up here soon. I know that Trump is supposed to address the country. I believe it's tomorrow night or tomorrow. Is it tomorrow during the day or tomorrow night? I don't remember. Sometime tomorrow. He's supposed to be making a statement to the nation, like giving an update on the war. And I really hope that it's going to be that like we've hit our goals and we're working on like getting out of the situation now. So I don't know, like I don't want it to escalate into full blown like boots on the ground like war like what we did in the Middle East after 9/11. I definitely don't want to see it turn into that. So I'll be interested to see what he has to say tomorrow and what the update is. I hope that it's a positive one. So yeah.
And my, I guess, add-on question is, why don't you think it's a war? Why are you calling it a conflict and not a war?
Because by definition, that's what it is. War has to go through Congress. An official declaration of war has to go through Congress. A conflict does not. So this is not that we're not under an official declaration of war. So
my last question then.
according to the Constitution, we are not currently at war.
Okay, I guess that's
Same
fair
with
to clarify.
the conflict that happened overseas. Again, you know, Operation Desert Storm, Operation Iraqi Freedom. Like, again, these are all like operations and conflicts that are happening. They're not considered official wars, if you want to be technical.
Okay. Last question for you. How do you explain the 2026 copyright on the 2025 itinerary?
Sure. I actually did a whole video breaking this down. Well, not this specifically, but it was in that video where I broke it down. But basically, so since the itinerary was printed in 2026, the Google data pulls from the most current Google information. So, I mean, basically the version of the map or software being displayed at the time the image is viewed, saved, or screenshotted, or in this case, printed. It's going to pull up the most current information. Essentially, Google updates their map data every single year. The copyright reflects the current data version, not when the flight happened. So if someone opened or resaved this manifest or map later, the map would show 2026, even if the flight happened in 2025. Many systems don't store a static image, they reload the map dynamically. And so every time that they're reopening that document and repulling it up, it's going to update parts of that template that they have those itineraries built into a template. And that information is going to update in real time. So it actually shows the legitimacy of the itinerary versus that of a fake. Again, Barron didn't present any of this information. He just simply said, oh, this happened in 2025, so the Google data must be 2025. No, actually, if this document was printed in 2026 and that said 2025, then that would be then you could go the fake route. That would actually make more sense. But the fact that it says 2026 on the Google data actually shows more towards legitimacy. I know that you guys aren't going to believe that, but that's the truth.
Well, I just got a question. How do you know it was printed in 2026? Who told you that? Who, I guess, how can you confirm that?
Because I was told that it was received from the company 3 days prior from when I got it.
So we're just going off of taking people's word for it, I guess. I'm not really leading anywhere with this. I'm just asking again.
I got it from Jessica, and Jessica got it from her source, and her source said that they had reached out to the company and requested it 3 days prior, and they had just gotten it that morning, and it was sent to her that morning. So yes, that would be consistent. And again, looking up what I just looked up about how Google does their data for their map data copyright, that is consistent with it being pulled the 3 days prior, as I was told.
And I don't dispute or deny what you're saying. I guess my question would be, why do you believe that? So, like, why is that word bond when you have like this reputation of like, where's the facts? Where's the proof? So why do you believe
Again, because that is consistent. If it said 2025 and I was told that it was pulled 3 days prior to when she got it and she had gotten it that morning, then I would have the same question that you have, because that would show that there was something was fraudulent there. Something was not right. But the fact that it says 2026 and you can do a literal ChatGPT search on how Google is doing their copyright on their map data, and that it pulls in real time from the last time that the document was viewed, then if they requested that document 3 days prior from the company and they pulled it up and viewed it 3 days prior, then yes, it's going to say 2026, and that is consistent with what I was told. So that is tracking correctly.
Yeah, I mean, we just gotta believe, you know what I mean? So that's what I'm saying. I can't really go back and forth, because at the end of the day, we just gotta believe whoever Jessica is pulled it, whatever.
Jessica's my last question would be, reporter at House and Habit. That's who I shared the tweet from. It's Jessica Reed Krause. You can look her up on X. She is a reporter, and obviously I'm gonna guess that she would have had to have gotten it from someone at Turning Point who gave it to her, because Paradise Jets isn't going to just release that to anybody. They're only going to give that documentation to the client who has
That
requested.
that was literally my next question. How is Jessica tied to Turning Point? Because how did she get it? But again, you're
She is
just
tied to Turning Point. She's spoken at Turning Point events. She has been pressed at Turning Point events. So yeah, she is connected to Turning Point. Barron went over that on his show. He literally said that, and he showed pictures of her like speaking on stage at Turning Point events.
oh, okay. I remember her. I remember
Yeah,
her.
yeah.
I just didn't
So,
remember.
yeah, no, she is connected to people at Turning Point. And again, Turning Point is listed. It literally says on the top of the itinerary that Turning Point is the client. And so there's no way that they're going to give that document over to somebody who's not the actual client who's requesting it. So again, if it wasn't Andrew himself, which it very most likely, that's what makes the most sense in my brain, is that it's Andrew himself, because he's calling to request it and he's the client. If not him himself, it has to be somebody at Turning Point who they would give that to as the client, because they're listed as the client account on the itinerary. So
Right.
yeah, I mean, that's what makes sense in my brain.
Okay. I mean, that was the last direct question for you. So, I mean, Lisa, I
Mm-hmm.
really do appreciate it. That was 2 hours and 52 minutes of a great conversation. Um, I really, really do appreciate it. I enjoy stuff like this where people just get to share their opinions and perspectives and views and all of that stuff. So I appreciate you for taking the time out of your night and coming to chop it up.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want you to know that this was wonderful. I will do this with you any day of the week that you want. You are amazing. I can deal with you. You're wonderful. You're respectful. Even though we disagree, like as a person, human to human, thank you. Really, truly. Because some of these other people that I've tried to talk to on your particular side of the aisle, it has been just, the treatment of me has been not the greatest. And so again, speaking to your person as a human being, like, I do want to say thank you legitimately and give props where props are due. um, you conducted yourself very professionally. You were like great to work with. This was a wonderful experience. This was very laid back and so easy compared to some of the interactions that I've had that have been just really difficult, because I just literally wanted to like throw my computer across the room. I never felt like that one single time with you. um, Again, I get passionate like in how I speak to people, and I know that I've always been like that. I'm an intense personality. I know that.
That's fair.
My husband's just like, dude, you're yelling at me. Stop. And I'm like, sorry, I'm just loud. I was raised in a very loud family, so I'm always like, sorry.
Yeah.
But anyway, no, literally, like I'm an intense personality and I know that, but literally I did not feel frustrated by you or angry by you one single time. And I have felt a lot of frustration from certain individuals. So thank you. Seriously, you
Yeah.
were wonderful. And again, anytime that you want me to come on here, I have no problem doing that because you were great. So
Well, I definitely appreciate it. And we'll chop it up again for sure throughout this whole thing.
yeah, for sure. Have a wonderful rest of your night. Thank you so much.
No problem. You too. All right. Let me get to some of y'all questions. Man, I appreciate y'all for sticking it through. It's been 2 hours and 55 minutes. So I appreciate y'all. Let me get to some of these questions. Let's see. Let's see. So glad you're having this conversation. Let reason and truth prevail. It was a great conversation. It really was. I've been peeping the comments a little bit on, everything. Everybody kind of getting impatient and frustrated. But, I definitely was curious to hear the op side. I wanted to know how they think. Why do they think the way they think? I was very interested in that. So um one of her friends reached out and wanted to chop it up. and have a debate slash open conversation about this whole thing. And I'll be honest, I was on the fence for a while. Um, but I was like, that's kind of who I am, is kind of stepping in the fire, even with people that, I'm like, I have no idea how this is gonna go. But it went well. That was the goal. I told her beforehand. I said that I'm not somebody that's gonna go back and forth as far as like hardcore debating and you're wrong, I'm right. I'm not really into all of that, especially when it's like a debate style. If there's nothing that has like hard facts around it, it ain't no reason to like go that, you know what I mean, that hard about it. So I told her beforehand, I said, this is an open conversation and it's a safe space. I'm not going to attack your character. I'm just going to go at the talking points. I mean, I'm going to go at the ideas you have, the perspectives you have. I may disagree on that, but I'll never disrespect you, though. Why is she angry like that? She said that she's just a passionate speaker. So, I definitely get passionate as well. I probably didn't seem like it. I think I did get passionate during that autopsy conversation because I felt like she was deflecting a little bit on that. And I think in that particular conversation, I was trying to get her to see where I thought things were problematic. And I feel like she didn't want to see that. So I was passionate during that part, but she says she just speaks passionately. Yapper, you're patient and professional. Keep up the great work. I'm proud of you. Everyone go give him a like. P.S. Lisa, you can't refute the FAA. Man, I definitely appreciate it. I appreciate y'all for listening. Yeah, it was a lot. Kind of like first one too. I haven't really done these too often. So I'm trying to get somewhat back into it, but not like all the time. It's definitely not a everyday thing. But I definitely appreciate it. And definitely like the video. I don't know how that's going. I've been locked in on something else. And you can't refute the FAA. Yeah, that was really interesting. I'm never going to really argue anything that I can't factually prove. So that's why when she brought up the FAA situation and she was like, no, I have the proof that whatever Paradise Jets went around it and they did this, they did that. I'm like, hey, if you got proof and evidence, all we can do is go see what you got. You know what I'm saying? When this live is over, go see if we can debunk her. If not, maybe she's telling the truth. I don't know. But personally, I give people the benefit of the doubt. I'm sure a lot of y'all probably don't like that because I do. I give you the benefit of the doubt until, otherwise. And there are some things that I'm like, all right, Lisa, you lying to me to make me not give her the benefit of the doubt. But with that particular conversation, I'm like, I can't really go back and forth with you about that because it's not like I can bring up something. All I can really compare is Barron's analysis saying that they wouldn't break the law. So that's really between her and Barron, to be honest. She believes things without proof whenever they conveniently support her views, then elaborates on them as if they're facts, and calling it common sense is a cop-out because that's not ordinary common sense. That's just her bias. I agree. I feel like there were things that were the things that she would bring up would be hearsay, but yet it was just like their word was bond. And I'm like, that's the same thing as what I'm talking about. I'm telling you that what Candace says is hearsay, but she's literally saying, Andrew told me this. So why are you automatically saying Candace is lying, but yet everything you're telling me is hearsay and you just want me to believe you? I was trying to get her to at least understand. There we go. Got to lower this desk a little bit. I was trying to get her to understand that she was being hypocritical because a lot of things that she was saying was hearsay. So I'm like, you can't tell me who I listen to is a liar, but I gotta believe who you listen to. like about the kid thing. I literally the picture of the kids, and I was like, that boy is not hers. And Erica said specifically, I'm with the kids. And then Lisa came and said, you know, she was at a party, and I'm like, no, you're coming up with so many things that's not at all what we know. You're coming up with things. So like, yeah, I don't know. Sometimes she was definitely hypocritical. Sorry, Jay, this girl has zero idea how the world works. I can't listen to her anymore. She's pissing me off, being disrespectful and showing her ignorance. Yeah, it was interesting. Like the Christian conversation, you know, I think that, man, that's why my dang throat hurt. I ain't take no drink the whole time. A rookie mistake. My mouth's so dry. When we were talking about the faith conversation, faith is always a tricky conversation, because if you're not really talking to somebody that's open, then it's always a like, you're right. I mean, I'm right and you're wrong situation. That's how they view it. So when she touched the faith conversation, I already knew how that was going to go, because it depends on what type of person you are when it comes to faith. Like me, I know that there are liars out there. You know what I mean? I know people, not personally, but I know that there are people who weaponize Christianity. I know that there are people that use it as a form of control. We see it every single day. Our government does it. So to sit here and say that I'm so sinful for recognizing that Erica does that, that's you know, that's just not really a conversation that's going to get anywhere. I don't think she shows any fruits. She does. So that's why I'm like, that's good for you. I just don't see it, because she's on paper lying, but she doesn't think she lies. So, you know what I mean? It's just one of those conversations where it's like, all right, it's not really going to get anywhere. I just know she's weaponizing Christianity by calling everybody demonic for trying to figure out what happened to her husband. But, you know, in Lisa's defense, she's like, it's definitely Tyler Robinson. So I'm like, we're not gonna get anywhere at all. We wouldn't, like, nobody would get prosecuted. There would be no law. There would be nothing if everybody just based their entire life off faith. Like if everybody just assumed everybody was a good person. If somebody died and, you know, the judge was like, well, we can't look at the husband because he's a Christian man. He had nothing to do with it. It'd be wrong of you to go after the widow because the Bible says not to. Where are we going to get talking like that? This ain't got nothing to do with my faith, brother. Did you kill your wife or not? Why are you lying? Let's talk about that. This ain't got nothing to do with fruits, faith, who you serve, none of that. You're lying. Let's talk about that. So like it was, I don't know, tough conversation. She's attacking the host now. Oh wow, she's bringing race into it. Yeah, she tried to bring up the race, saying that, you know, if somebody was attacking black people and she constantly promoted her or him, like their content, but basically referencing Candace, saying Candace is attacking the blue and white country and she's spewing hate about them. But yet I promote her content by, you know, talking about it, posting and all that stuff. I don't know. Again, entertainment purposes only. I don't know Candace like that. She ain't my mama. She ain't my sister. You could do some crazy things, but that don't mean I just, you know what I mean? I can disagree with some things somebody might do, but that don't mean I just, what? Deplatform them. What's their favorite word? Condemn. It ain't. And secondly, in my opinion, I think Candace has her reasons on why she doesn't like the blue and white country. And who am I to say you're wrong for feeling that way? You know, they never done anything to me. So that's why I say I have no problem with it. And I was telling her that. I said, don't loop me in with the anti-Semitic conversations and you don't like Jews, you don't like Israel. Don't do that. I don't have anything against them. They've never done anything to me. But I'm also not the person to say, Candace, you're wrong for feeling that way when she has been in that industry. She has firsthand experience with all of that. So who am I to tell her that she's wrong to feel that way? You know what I mean? That's how I view it. And yes, I have my disagreements on how they handle things. If somebody asks me how they handled the Palestine thing, I thought they handled that wrong. I think the war right now, they're handling that wrong. That doesn't mean I hate Jews, though. I don't really like that approach. That doesn't, Charlie Kirk said that in one of his videos when he was talking with 25 conservatives, like they were like kids, Gen Z. I think he said 25 Gen Zers or something. And he was like, what good does it if you have the youth just questioning a couple of things and disagreeing with some of your moves, and then you call all of them racist? He was like, that doesn't do the world any good by calling everybody racist the second they disagree with you. And I couldn't agree more. God dang. Tolerating people like Lisa, she's lying. Jay knows and Lisa lies. Lisa knows nothing. I got your fix. Exodus 23:8, since we're talking about the Bible, says, yeah, I don't ever like those conversations. I think it's just a lot of people use it as a shield. And that's why I try to tell her that. I was like, some of the slimiest people got a Bible verse in their bio right now. Some of the slimiest people quote scripture. Even the devil knows scripture. That don't mean nothing to me. That's the part where I'm saying if somebody's amateur, somebody's an amateur in their faith, they're new to it, then they can be taken advantage of in those ways. But like for me, nah. Can we do this on the X Space? I would like to share my story as someone who watched Candace and even joined her book club, but stopped. Dude, the indigenous people were cannibals and participated in human sacrifice. I don't know about X Space. I just started X, or I just joined X, kind of like officially a couple days ago. So I'm new to it over there. Go follow me on X if you can. It's J Yaps a lot. I just started, brand new account. So I'm excited to see where that goes. X is kind of toxic, so I'm a little afraid, but we gonna see. But you was watching Candace and you joined her book club and stopped. Yeah, I mean, I'm interested, or I wouldn't say that, but because again, you should never agree with anybody 100% of the time. Bro, I am dying, bro. All right, I'm gonna try this again. I don't know what just happened. But you should never agree with anybody 100% of the time. So if you don't rock with Candace no more, then to each his own. Me personally, I don't believe in Christopher Columbus and all of that stuff. I don't think he was a good guy based off of what I found. Even if you like pull it up, he was a bad man. Nor did he like actually find America. So, you know, that's that. But we might be able to do an X Space one day, and we can get into your story. There you go. This woman is horrible. She blatantly lied a lot. If I had to guess, I feel like some of those were definitely lies. I just didn't feel like, show me the proof, show me the proof. I wasn't trying to get into all that. Sometimes you just got to sit back and just let people talk. You got 2 ears and 1 mouth. So a lot of times I just sit back and listen. But in my opinion, yeah, I feel like a lot of the things she was saying, I was like, I don't know about that one. This woman is clearly massaged. She's controlled opposition, and she's not very good at it with her fake. Bro, this is so crazy. She's not very good at it with her fake cross on and her fake pendant. She's not a Christian. Came here from DD, and I'm now subscribed to you. She's a demon. Wow. I can't go. Thank you for the donation. I'm sorry, I didn't comment because you said a lot, but I do appreciate the donation. I appreciate respectful debate. I appreciate you for listening. I really do. I appreciate everybody for listening. We saw what Andrew was giving Gary as an alibi, period, in the story. They got called live on stream. That's what I'm saying. I tried my best to talk about the things that we know kind of like as facts, but it was kind of hard at the same time because she didn't believe in, if Candace said Andrew said something, she don't believe it. She don't believe it. So it's kind of hard to talk about certain things. So, but even when I brought up facts, like something that was evident, like the picture of the kids that aren't hers, she still, came up with a story for it. I don't know. Oh my gosh, y'all are funny. That's funny. I almost spit out my drink. That's funny. I appreciate the donation. We gave grace in the beginning until people started lying and changing stories. We have audio and video, internet forever won't happen again. Absolutely. I agree with you. I think a lot of people, I would probably say majority, gave Erica grace and gave Turning Point grace. We believed everything that they were saying. Until they started to look shady. Until they started to lie. And here we are. So I don't think it's nobody's fault but theirs. Thank you for the donation. Grumpy Knuckles. It's going to be funny when the actual lawyers step. Man. I'm curious on how this thing going to play out. I really am. Andrew is texting her. That would be crazy. She hesitated a little bit when we asked her, have you talked to Andrew Colbert? She hesitated a little bit. Can't even lie. I was watching. I forgot who asked that question. Somebody said, have you talked to Andrew Colbert personally? And then I said, outside of social media. And she hesitated. Just a little note. That's all. Um, Grumpy Knuckles again. I can't wait until the receipts, charging documents in this case literally stay or say they will use hearsay. Have you read them, Lisa? I'm sorry I didn't see. I'm sorry I didn't see a question for Lisa when she was up here. Bro, this is ridiculous. Let her keep talking. Mm. Oh my gosh, bro. Then Paradise Jets is lying on their website. If they hold a Part 135 certificate certified air carrier, then they are a broker. Ask the owner why they are lying on their website. You know, there was a point where I didn't even feel like bringing up stuff anymore because I knew there was going to be a rebuttal. But I knew that. I remember, Barron talked about that on on the website. It says they are not a broker. There would have been something she would have came up with that, I was just not willing to go back and forth about. Sometimes you just got to keep it pushing. Appreciate the donation. Cabin KB 7777777. I appreciate the donation. Lady, your comments will age like milk. Nerve of you to speak of Constitution. He knew something. Yeah, I think you're talking about when we was talking about Joe Kent. I don't agree with her on that one at all. Science says Lisa knows nothing. Thank you for the donation. That's funny. Okay, we saw that one. Thank you for the donation, Jane. We saw that one as well. Thank you for the donation, Lauren. Peach Monster. Thank you for the donation. Grumpy Knuckles again. Thank you. Let her keep talking and tell Gary to keep running his mouth too. The mouth diarrhea is beneficial to our side. We just listen to our incredulous logic and inconsistencies. You're clearly yeah, she's compromised for sure. I felt like it. She definitely was cool throughout the interview. But when she couldn't agree with me on certain things, and she knows this, she knows how I feel about her in this situation. But I'm like, man, somebody is paying you or something, because why are you going hard for these folks? She'll say the same thing about me. She would say that I'm, a paid shield. So it's all good. Your homegirl Jessica writes blogs about not believing in the Fed slop. The Fed slop, that Tyler is the lone wolf and doesn't trust Fed stories. It's crazy how Turning Point is just tied to everything. Paradise Jets is affiliated with Turning Point. Then allegedly they sent the itinerary to Jessica, and then Jessica sends it to LisaKnows. I don't know. It's just I'm so sick of Turning Point having a hand in everything. It's kind of annoying. All alleged. Because again, she's telling us to just believe that Jessica got the itinerary from Paradise Jets and they printed it, this year. I don't know. That's her wanting us to believe her, which she won't do for us. So I don't know. Grumpy Knuckles, I appreciate it again. You did great, brother. My gangster would have been asking my Christ out to calm down. I think you demonstrated well, brother. Love the channel. I'd greatly appreciate you. I really do. Thank you for the donation. law enforcement literally looks at the closest. I know, right? I think it's a very small percentage that, husbands and wives, kill each other and all that, like actually convicted and stuff. However, it is more than likely that they will be questioned first if something does happen to the spouse. Not that you're being interrogated, assuming that you've done something wrong, but they will question you first. That is known. It's not that crazy. And I feel like with Joe Kent coming out, I should have asked her. I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter, but I should have asked her, as a wife, which she was, with Joe Kent coming out saying he has more information or there is more to investigate as a wife to somebody that lost their husband in the craziest way. Would you not then come out and say, launch an entire investigation? Like, what did Joe Kent just say? And just like flip tables, get mad, be pissed at the FBI for blocking Joe Kent, be pissed at Trump for not further investigating? You would think that that's what Erica would have done. She didn't care. And, Lisa's mentality is that Joe Kent was a traitor and a liar. So don't trust him. But that's why I gave her another perspective. And I was like, let's just say Joe Kent was leaking documents and he got fired. What does that have to do with him telling you that there is more things to investigate? I don't care if he got fired for it. I want to know more. I would love for you to come inside of TBUSA's studio, sit down in front of me. If I'm Andrew Kovac, Joe Kent, come here, sit down in front of me and tell me. We ain't even got to air this. Just tell me what you know. Why do you feel so confident to the point where you would testify on behalf of the defense? Like, tell me more. Instead, they reject Joe Kent and invite the person that interviewed Joe Kent. Who cares about the person that interviewed him? Invite Joe Kent. So to me, that was telling. That's why I'm like, Lisa, how are you not understanding? And I don't know the situation. Maybe she's, I don't know. I know a lot of people are speculating that she's on payroll. I don't know. I cannot confirm or deny. Lisa is inconclusive to me. But there were things that I was like, there's no way you just can't agree with me on this. And she wouldn't. I told her, I said, you don't think it's odd that they don't want to talk to Joe Kent? She refuses to agree with that. Joe Kent has came out himself and said, I'm not being investigated. They would have told me and they would have cut off my access to all of my documents and stuff. And they never did that until I chose to quit. And he said they would have never had an investigation about me be leaked to the public. They would have just came and told me. I wouldn't have found out through a podcast if I was being investigated by the government. And that makes total sense. But Lisa doesn't believe that. Another girl from the propaganda squad told me the same thing about a play date for excuse for boy. And the photo seems like they got an email. Yeah, I truly could not believe her excuse she had for Erica on the boy not being hers. Because I don't know. I'm always open to different perspectives and ideas, but it does get to a point where I'm like, are you a real person? Because there's no way you don't understand the problem. If you don't see that this is problematic, you posting a photo saying, here are my kids, and it don't even matter if it's just one. If one of them is not your kid, but you're saying, here are my kids. How is that not problematic? And she said no. And she said that, it was a birthday party. And I'm like, where are you getting this from? That has never, ever, ever came about of it being a birthday party. What are you talking about? I just, I don't know. She came up with this whole thing. It was a birthday party and other kids were there. And I was like, where are you getting this from? You just made that up. That was, I don't know. And then her comeback was like, what does that matter? And I'm like, what? Why does that matter? She's supposed to be proving that she wasn't at Fort Huachuca. And she chooses to provide a picture of kids that aren't hers. That's very problematic. I don't really understand what you're saying. And then she says, well, we do know that that girl is definitely Gigi. And I'm like, but we don't know that. We just proved that the boy wasn't hers. So how are you so confident that the girl is Gigi just because we haven't really focused on the girl, which Barron already said we're about to get to in a couple weeks, that neither one of them are hers. So I'm like, why would that not matter to you? We don't know if that's the girl. We know that's not the boy. And you just made up this birthday party. I don't know. That was weird. And then the autopsy was weird to me because I kept on, I don't know if y'all remember, but I kept on trying to ask her to point, or at least with the autopsy, make it make sense on how it points to Tyler Robinson. I kept on trying to ask her that. With what we know in the autopsy, explain to me how that points to Tyler Robinson. And I feel like she was deflecting, talking about charging documents and all that stuff. And I'm like, that's not what I'm asking you at all. In the autopsy, which we both know that the single fragment is inconclusive, was found to be inconclusive. So with that information, it does not point to Tyler Robinson. How are we not in agreement on that? And I said, how do you not see the issue with Erica coming out saying, I saw the autopsy and it's definitely Tyler Robinson. I saw it. Do you not understand how that's manipulating? Andrew Kovac coming out saying the evidence is overwhelming. It's a whopper. All this other BS he be talking about. And the autopsy can't even point to Tyler Robinson. Again, I'm not saying that the inconclusive findings means that it's completely ruled out. I'm not saying that at all. I was literally trying to tell her, I was like, do you not understand the problem? Which is Erica coming out saying the autopsy was evident. And she said, well, it doesn't matter. Even without the autopsy, it's the evidence is overwhelming. And I said, see, that's the problem, bro. Like, we just not gonna find a middle ground. If you lie to me one time, you lose your credibility. You start to lose it. Then you have to kind of overly prove yourself to me. You got to gain my trust back. Y'all paraded on about this autopsy. So it being inconclusive, yeah, that's very detrimental to what you've been saying, because you've been saying that it's overwhelming. So that I don't know why she, I don't know. Maybe she did understand what I was saying, but she was deflecting because she knew that she really didn't have a rebuttal to it. But all I simply said is that, do you not find it problematic that Erica bragged on the autopsy, yet the autopsy didn't prove anything? You don't see how that could sway the public to think, man, does Erica actually know something that we don't know? Because remember, she could have shared the autopsy. We got MLK's autopsy. I said we, like was I alive? I don't know. No, I wasn't alive. I'm tripping. We got y'all, whoever was alive during that time, got MLK's autopsy within like 5 days. But with this one, we was questioning if there was an autopsy done for like a month and a half. And then we finally, I think Erica did. Candace said something, and then Erica went on an interview and then confirmed that the autopsy was real. And that, they got it done or whatever. So I'm like, if she's seen the autopsy this whole time, I don't think she should have been going out and telling the public that the autopsy is so clear. I don't know. That's very manipulating. Very. She thinks my sister's a verified sociopath. She's got all the signs. That's tough. She was deflecting. She basically said there has to be something because it's there. What's wrong with my eyes? What's wrong with them? Am I tired? Probably. It's been 3 hours and 32 minutes. If that's what you find wrong with my eyes, are they a little red or something? A little droopy? Yeah, I am tired. It's 1:30 in the morning. We need to make a list of red flags. Exactly, Erica. Oh, my fault. Same thing Candace does sometimes without holding certain info, but get mad at Candace and it's okay for them. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Candace does the same things that all of her sources do. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. We need to make a list of red flags and then ask her to answer them one by one. I'm not going to hold you. It'd probably be a waste of time. It probably would be a waste of time. Because she's going to have an answer for everything. Y'all saw me ask her straight up, parent to parent, how she feels about Erica talking to that 15-year-old. We all seen the messages. We all seen the screenshots. And she defended it. There's nothing really to talk about. There's nothing. I can't really create a list for her because I know she would have an answer for every single one of them. She would try to make sense out of it. She would come up with scenarios that aren't even real. You know what I mean? And this is not me bashing her at all. I'm just speaking on like how tonight went, and I know how her debate style, her open conversation, or how tonight went. I can see the pattern recognition. If it doesn't make sense, she's going to try to make sense out of it with like a made-up scenario. And after that, there's really nothing to talk about because I'm not going to argue a made-up scenario. Just like with the picture of the kids. I'm not going to argue a birthday party that nobody ever brought up. Nobody has ever said there was a birthday party. So I'm not going to go back and forth with you if it was actually a birthday party and that's somebody else's kid that's taking a picture with Gigi. I'm not finna do that. If you think that it was a birthday party, even though nobody has ever said that it was a birthday party, you do you. Thinks my X handle. Oh my gosh. I just joined X again. So I'm a little nervous because it's so toxic over there. And I'm going to go ahead and put it out there. I say some crazy things. I think about some crazy things. So don't be surprised if I get canceled within like 2 weeks. X is a little dangerous for me. But yeah, I just started X. Go follow it. I appreciate all of y'all for supporting this small channel because yeah, I'm not a full-time guy or a full-time gal. I got work in the morning. I'm normal. I just do this when I have, I wouldn't say when I have time, but I have to like create like a little slot and make sure I dedicate some time to social media. I got to, because it's fun. I enjoy doing it, and um, I definitely want to continue building. So that's all I really do with my schedule now. I got work in the morning, and then I create slots throughout the day where I can get some content in. And I'm definitely a night owl because this is when I kind of freed up. I don't really have much to tend to, so I'll stay up and do this and wake up early in the morning, pop an energy drink, and do it all over again. Um, I appreciate it. I appreciate it having my back, please, because I'm scared of X. I don't want to get on there and get canceled in 2 weeks. I'm gonna try to hold my tongue. But I don't know. I said something about Blake Neff today. I was a little nervous tweeting it because it was the first thing that came to my mind, and I realized it's not TikTok. I can't just say what's on my mind and then be like, "Oh, let me go ahead and delete that." I said I had something on my mind. I hit tweet, and I was like, "Lord, please, I crack a lot of jokes, so don't cancel me, please." Sure thing. I definitely would do it. I keep forgetting that she's a sociopath. No answers. I appreciate it. I appreciate y'all. I really do. This would not be possible at all without y'all's support and without y'all watching. I really do appreciate it. I remember, I'm telling you, I remember vividly, maybe 2 years ago, maybe about 3 years ago, when I first started social media. And I remember, it wasn't this at all. I remember the one person on live, maybe zero for like 2 hours. Um, I remember all of it. I really do. And all I can do is just be grateful and appreciate y'all for supporting and listening to the content, supporting the content, pushing the content. Um, Forever grateful. I really, and it's made me enjoy it even more than before, because I used to enjoy it in general because this is what I love to do. But then once I realized that, there's the support system that also loves it, it just makes you go even harder. So I definitely appreciate y'all. But it's 1:32 in the morning, and hopefully, I don't know who's been here for the whole 3 hours and 38 minutes. But it's been a fun one, and we'll do another one soon. We'll do another one soon. We're gonna look around, see what's going on, and see who can be next. There is another person that's looking for an open conversation this week, so hopefully we can get it in this week. If not, it'll definitely be coming soon. So I do appreciate y'all again. If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit the sub button if you haven't already. But make sure y'all hit the like button too. That way this video can be pushed out to whoever didn't get to see this tonight. So but appreciate y'all again. I'm gonna see y'all in the next one.